Ladies and gentlemen, it is Wednesday, February 4th, 2026. Here's what's coming up on the Owen Report today. Well, we are going to continue with what we've been doing so far this week. And we're going to start off the first hour with the latest from the Epstein files. More depravity, more disgust, more questions, still no investigations, at least in America. In fact, now the Department of Justice, the FBI, President Trump himself, now they're all coming out and saying, nothing to see here, time to move on. So, that's what they say. They say nothing to see here, nothing worth investigating, nothing to charge you over. Oh, and this is what other pundits in the media are saying, too. We're going to have a response to that later this evening after the show. Stay tuned for that. We shot a little special video, a little fun video. For all the weirdos and freaks and I don't even know, corrupt members of the media that are telling you there's nothing to see here, well, we're going to go day 3 of what there's to see here. And you can be the judge. You can be the judge if this is nothing to see here on day 3 of our Epstein files coverage. So we're going to spend the first hour covering them. And it's same thing we've been seeing, same thing we've been hearing from the files all week. So we got that going on. Then in the second hour, we're really going to go heavy on this topic today. In the second hour, we're going to be joined by Liz Crokin. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, Liz Crokin, the great investigative journalist. She's been all over this. Of course, she's been all over this since Pizzagate. She has seen all of the other developments and trends in this same realm of child sex trafficking and demonic pedophilia. One of the leading experts, Liz Crokin, joining us in the second hour. And then Craig Sawyer, Vets for Child Rescue, who has the on-ground experience with this stuff, literally hunting these child predators, following the sex trafficking networks from the borders to the inner cities. Craig Sawyer is the man. He joins us in the third hour. So we're really going heavy on this stuff. Now, but hey, there's nothing to see here. Other members of the media say there's nothing to see here. Don't worry about it. Oh, forget about it. Oh, move on. What kind of sick and depraved individual doesn't think that child sex trafficking is a big deal and that we need to make a big deal of it and maybe even hit pause on a bunch of other things until we bring it to a halt and make sure anybody and everybody involved in it is either hanging from a rope or has a stone tied to their neck at the bottom of the ocean? Sorry, I'm not going to be part of that. Sorry, I don't really care what political movement you're a part of. I don't really care what hat you wear. I really don't give a damn. Sorry, I'm not going to be part of covering up and making sure that, oh, no, nothing to see here. Let's move on. Sorry, not happening here. And if that's the route you want to take, so be it. We'll see what we'll see what your maker has to say about that. I'm not going to have to worry about that. I'm not going to have to deal with that. Now, we do have some other news. Quite frankly, some important news, some financial news. The stocks are tanking. Crypto is tanking. We've got massive fraud stories today, too. I hope we have time for it all. And as I've been saying, I think it's pretty clear what's happening here, folks. I think it's pretty clear what's happening. And if we get Iran strikes, maybe in a couple days, it'll be even more clear. As Marco Rubio is indicating, the talks aren't going so well. I think this is all about striking Iran. The markets, everything, the Epstein files, I think this is all about getting Trump to strike Iran. He doesn't want to do it. So they're telling him, fine, here come the Epstein files. Good luck. They're telling him, fine, we're going to crash the markets. We're going to crash the stock markets, crash the crypto markets. Nobody will know what the hell's going on in the precious metal markets. They'll hit all-time highs. We'll have record sell-offs. They'll bounce back up. Total chaos. I think it's all to get Trump to strike Iran. But that's just me. That's just how I see it. So that's all coming up today on the Owen Report.
This news update was brought to you by OwenSchroyer.store, the official site for Owen Report merchandise.
All right, guys, we keep hearing from friends and family, listeners of the show, thanking me for bringing them into the future of water filtration. That is the CovePure water filter systems at CovePure.com/Owen. Now, on the screen, I just have some of the different testing mechanisms that show you why it is the best, and I can get into the science of it coming up here shortly. But, you know, this is really what it's all about. And this is why when I have friends and family over, I love showing off my CovePure water system. And in fact, you know, I talk about it so much, they even inquire, they come in, they say, oh, they look at it, they see it, and they say, oh, is that water filtration system you keep talking about? It's very sleek. It looks very good, looks very modern, even from the future. That's what I say. It's the water filter from the future. Come to the future with me. The future of water filtration is here right now. It's the CovePure water filter system. And right now, ladies and gentlemen, when you go to CovePure.com/Owen, $200 off your system. You heard that correct. Right now, when you go to CovePure.com/Owen, $200 off your water filtration system. Now I can get into the science of why it's actually the best water filter when we're talking about the water that you're consuming, why it's the best water to consume. It gets a little boring. Here's what I like about it. Here's what everybody loves about it. Here's what I like to show off when people come to my house. With one click of the button, I'm telling you, folks, they're amazed. They don't know how they do it. They want to get X-ray goggles and look inside. One click of the button, ice cold water. Oh, I just filled up my cup with ice cold water. Click of another button, steaming hot, piping hot water for your tea, your instant coffee, whatever. Right there. They can't believe it. They're mystified. I'm still mystified, quite frankly. But I'm beyond the mystification. I just enjoy the product now. I just enjoy the product. Oh, what's that? You want 6 ounces? Perfect. 6 ounces, one button. Oh, you want 16 ounces? Okay, no problem. 16 ounces, one button. That's the future of water filtration system. Plus, it is the best filtration system, too. Reverse osmosis, then realkalizes the water. Doesn't get any better than that. So, CovePure.com/Owen, $200 off your system, folks. You heard that right. For my listening audience, $200 off the CovePure water filtration system at CovePure.com/Owen. Bring your water filtration to the future with me and CovePure. CovePure.com/Owen.
On the cutting edge of news and analysis, the Owen Report with Owen Schroyer.
All right. Here's what we're going to start with. I've got a brief comment from Trump yesterday. I've got a brief comment from Kash Patel last night that'll just kind of set the mood for where they're at as far as how they're handling this Epstein file debacle. But, you know, I want to say this because it's been on my mind, and obviously somebody that's connected to Trump is paying attention to what we're doing here, folks. Okay. It's pretty clear to me now. And really, it's been that way for a long time since I was at InfoWars. But it looks like they're watching very closely. Now, it's more of a negative. It's more of in a negative light these days than it was in the past. But I would just say this. As I said to open the show, my conclusion is that the chaos we're seeing, the massive market sell-offs, the crypto crashing, the market sell-off and crashing today, the volatility in the precious metals, record highs, dumps, record highs again, the Epstein files, all of it. I think that it's all to get Trump to strike Iran. That's what I believe. I think that now I'm not telling you it's that simple. I'm not saying that that's the only factor at play. But to me, it seems like that's what this is really all about. This is public blackmail. This is public pressure. And they can see here, they're saying, all right, President Trump, how are you going to say greatest economy ever? Because he loves to go out in front of the press and say, look at the stock market, record high. Not anymore. Massive dump offs again today. I mean, I'll tell you, I'm out. I'm almost totally out. And every once in a while we talk a little stock market stuff here. It's not a big part of the show, but it's a little piece of the show. We talk about it. I'm out. I'm done. I'm once they get him to strike Iran, maybe I'll buy back in. There's a couple stocks that I'm holding just strategically. But for the most part, I almost have sold everything. I've almost liquidated all my stock assets. And I think it's going to continue to go down until and they'll be like, they'll be this because the inside traders are always finding a way to make a quick buck. But no, I think when you look at the larger picture, they basically just did a huge rug pull. They just did a huge rug pull on the market. They hit the all-time highs. Now they're dumping it. I'm sure they would love it to get back up there, but they're not going to let that happen until Trump strikes around. As far as crypto is concerned, who really knows? A lot of faith has been lost in crypto in the past couple days. Some of that has to do with some of the weirdness about crypto in the Epstein files. And then, of course, the big factor is that it's catering. It's tanking right now. And then, of course, the Epstein files themselves. So, no, I do think that's the case. I don't think Trump wants to strike Iran. I don't think he wants to be in another regime change war in the Middle East. He's always been against it. But I think that's what's going on. I think it's a public pressure, public blackmail campaign to get Trump. So, what are you going to do, Trump? We're going to crash the market if you don't strike Iran. What are you going to do, Trump? We're going to keep releasing more Epstein files. Make sure your name's not redacted. Maybe some videos come out. In fact, there was just a massive video dump today that people are archiving right now. That's happening right now as we speak. So that's how I see it. Now, before we go into the files, and again, we got Liz Crokin in the second hour. We got Craig Sawyer in the third hour. We're really hammering this today. I'm not going to sit here. I don't even know the words to describe the type of people. Look, if you don't want to cover the Epstein stuff, fine. Okay? Like, I'm not going to call my friends in the sports media and say, hey, why aren't you covering the Epstein files? They're like, well, it's Super Bowl week. I'm in Santa Clara covering the Super Bowl. Okay. No, I'm looking at the people in the political media that are telling you there's nothing to see here. I'm looking at the people in the political media that are saying it's boring and there's no there. You're either not looking or you're lying to cover something up. I don't know. I don't know where you rank it. Get vaccinated, safe and effective. It's like right up there. Hey, safe and effective killer vaccine. Hey, nothing to see in the Epstein files about trafficking children. It's like this is the realm of the most corrupt sons of bitches and bastards in the media. Demons. And by the way, it's a lot of the same people. It's a lot of the same people that told you to take the vaccine that are telling you there's nothing to see in the files. So, think what you will about that. But here's just a couple quick comments coming from Kash Patel last night and Donald Trump yesterday. Let's go first to Trump. He gets into it with Caitlin Collins here. It's so cringe. It's beyond cringe. It's awkward, and it makes Trump look. This is Trump's Achilles heel. There's no other way to put it. This is Trump's Achilles heel.
Time for the country to get onto something else. And now that nothing came out about me, other than it was a conspiracy against me, literally by Epstein and other people. But I think it's time now for the country to maybe get onto something else.
What would you say to people who feel like they haven't got
He says, oh, nothing in it about me except it makes me look good and it's time for the country to move on. I can't believe what I'm hearing. Honestly, I can't believe what I'm hearing. I cannot believe it's gut-wrenching. This is a man we have fought for. This is a man we have supported. This is worse than the Operation Warp Speed and everything that came along with that, and him continuing to say that they're safe and effective. It's like I can at least find some, I'll find some excuse to let that go, let's say, which isn't the truth. It's still bad, but it's just like, all right, whatever. For this to be going on right now is unbelievable. Not everything is about you, Trump. Not everything is about Donald Trump, to all those Trump cultists out there. I know this is the Trump delusion syndrome. This is the Trump derangement syndrome that is now worse on the right than it is on the left. So again, the question is, and I'll shut up and listen, make my quick point and move on. The question is about the Epstein files, and here's Trump's response.
Time for the country to get onto something else, really. Now that nothing came out about me, other than it was a conspiracy against me, literally, by Epstein and other people. But I think it's time now for the country to maybe get onto something else.
What would you say to people who feel like they haven't gotten justice, Mr. President?
Something that people care about. Yeah, what did you say?
What would you say to the survivors who feel like they've gotten
You are the worst reporter. No wonder CNN has no ratings because of people like you. You know, she's a young woman. I don't think I've ever seen you smile. I've known you for 10 years. I don't think I've ever seen a smile on your face. You know why? You know why you're not smiling? Because you know you're not telling the truth.
So is that why you're not smiling right now, Mr. President? Is that why you're not smiling? Because you know you're not telling the truth?
You're a very dishonest organization, and they should be ashamed of you. Okay, go ahead.
Imagine that. Trump has reached such a low point with the handling and the PR of these Epstein files that he's now making Caitlin Collins at CNN look good. That's how bad it is. And again, I look at the Trump supporters. Hey, fine. You still support Trump. You like the policies. You like the results. Hey, that's fine. How are you going to be a part of this? How are you going to be a part of saying, oh, there's nothing to see here. Oh, it's time to move on. How are you going to be a part of this? I don't care if you're the biggest Trump fan still to this day, waving the pom-poms, waving the flags, wearing the hats. Hey, fine. We'll have political debates. This is totally different. But see, it just shows you how this is a total cult now. Oh, when it's the Clintons involved, now the Epstein files are a big deal when it's the Clintons. Oh, when it's Bill and Hillary Clinton and all the Democrats involved, oh, the Epstein files are a big deal. We need to know what's in there. When it's the campaign and we know it's a big popular issue to run on, yeah, we're all for getting the Epstein files. We're all for showing the child sex trafficking. We're for bringing it down, exposing it, getting arrests, getting prosecution, all of MAGA behind it. Oh, but now the Trump cultists, now the MAGA cultists, now the MAGA sheeple, Trump says, don't talk about it. Oh, of course, President Trump, we don't care about it now. Oh, we don't care about child sex trafficking now. We don't care about what it looks like these Epstein files are all about now. No, we don't care. Yes, sir. Yes, President Trump. You want us to cover up child sex trafficking networks for you? You got it, President Trump. That's how sick these people have become. And they really think this is about Republican Democrat Party politics. They really believe that. I just can't even, I can't relate to it. I can't fathom it. But I've never been a part of I've never been part of that mindset. I've never had the slave mind. I've never had the cult mind. I've never had the cuck mind. And that's what it takes to pull this off. And Trump knows enough of his supporters have that mindset, so he's able to do it. All right. Let me just set aside the heavy criticism here for a second. And let me say this, because somebody inside the administration is paying attention here, guys. Mr. President, I say this as somebody that's, been through a lot for you, and I have no regrets. And I just stand for the truth. You are much better off just being honest about whatever it is, just being honest about it and asking for forgiveness than whatever this campaign you're involved in now is. You're much better off. And quite frankly, I would advise you, because Susie Wiles is clearly not giving you any good advice. In case you can't tell, your approval rating is tanking. You can't move on from these Epstein files, no matter how much you try. So Susie Wiles is letting you down big time. Okay. So I'll go ahead and give you some free advice that is much better than whatever you're paying her to do. Whatever it is that you had involvement with Epstein, and I don't even know, I'm not convinced anything was illegal. You like to party with Epstein. He had access to the hottest women and whatever. You engaged in it. We've seen you dancing with the women and everything. If that's the case, hey, I'm not even saying you did anything illegal. But the way you're acting about it now, it's starting to look like your Achilles heel. Mr. President, this is coming from the heart and soul of the American people. Okay? Whatever it is that you're trying to cover it up, whatever it is, whatever the deals that have been made behind the scenes, and you just want everybody to move on, it's not going to work. This is what the American people want. This is what the American people need. You need to just come forward and just expose it all, whatever it is. And if that involves you asking for forgiveness, so be it. Because here's the deal. We would rather deal with the realities of whatever it was Epstein was involved in, or even yourself. We would rather deal with the realities of that than whatever the hell this group of people has planned for us next. Okay? We're begging you. And if you come out and get ahead of this, I think there's still time. If you come out and get ahead of this and level with the American people as much as you can and say, look, here's the deal. Whatever we have to deal with because of that will be 100 times better than whatever it is we're going to have to deal with if you don't do that. Whatever it is this group of sick, psychotic, demonic, satanic elites have planned for us next, please, please, we will bear the cost with you if you come out, expose it, and stop it now. We will bear that cost with you, Mr. President. We don't want to deal with these people anymore. We want them off our backs. We want them off our planet. We want all of their little plans, all of it. We're done with it. We need them out of here. Please. From the heart and soul of the American people, we will bear the cost of this with you. We can work on some reconciliation if it's really that bad, but we're begging you. We're begging you. Whatever it is we have to deal with in exposing the full truth about Epstein and the island and yourself and whoever, whatever it is that costs us, we will gladly bear that cost. Even if it means the stock market tanking or whatever else, whatever other levers that these ghouls have their hands on, whatever other levers they're going to switch off when you expose them all and bring them all down. Mr. President, we will gladly deal with that. We will gladly bear the burden of that if you put this satanic cult elite group to an end. We will gladly pay that price. And it will be much greater to pay that price than whatever these sick freaks have planned for us next. And maybe you cut a deal with them. You know, I don't know. Maybe they've got some plans or they know some cataclysm is coming and they're going to let you into the bunkers or onto the spaceship or whatever. Maybe that sounds a little far-fetched. I'm trying to make sense of it all. But it's clear now. There's no denying it that this is a very powerful group of people. They have the levers of power for most of U.S. policy and results, maybe even around the world to a certain degree. And they are into child sex trafficking and other demonic practices. And now we've seen it from the 2016 WikiLeaks all the way up to the Epstein files. There is no denying it. So we're just begging you. We're just begging you, stop being a part of whatever this is telling us to move on. Stop letting them twist your arm and blackmail you and embarrass you like this. Please stop it. Whatever the cost is to put this satanic cult to an end, we will bear it with you, Mr. President. But the further we go down this line, less and less people are going to be able to make that social agreement with you. And the more we go day by day by day, just like we had this week with another $20 billion in foreign aid, all for Israel. And I'm sure they're getting ready for some Iran strikes. No deep state arrests, no major arrests for the stolen election, no major arrests. Oh, Hillary Clinton would be in jail. They're not. No major arrests from Spygate, Russiagate hoax. No investigations into the Epstein files. It's unacceptable. And you're hurting the country. Whatever you think about your own reputation, maybe you don't even care anymore, but you're hurting that too. I think you can see it. We can see the pain. You know it. So, this comes from a place of love. Who knows? Maybe it just goes into the ether and gets ignored, but figured we'd at least give it a good faith effort. Now, this was Kash Patel last night. It's amazing how much time the FBI and the DOJ have for Fox News. They can't get a damn prosecution that is any meaningful, but plenty of time for Fox News interviews. Here's the latest. Kash Patel last night.
You told me when we last talked, this is 8 months ago when we did an interview at the FBI in Quantico, that you were convinced that Epstein killed himself in jail. Today, 8 months after that, are you still convinced?
Yes.
100%.
Yes, sir.
He's convinced. Are you guys convinced? Now, these were the images that I had mentioned yesterday that came out of supposedly of Jeffrey Epstein after he had killed himself. Sorry for the graphic nature. Warning, these are graphic. A couple of things stick out to me. First of all, they don't even look real. Like, what is this? Like, what even is this camera? What even is this camera angle? Like, what even is this? Like, is somebody running around with a secret camera when this is going on? It just looks weird. It doesn't, the images themselves look weird. Some people are pointing out that he's missing his tattoo that he supposedly has. And I think I wouldn't say beyond a reasonable doubt confirmed that was a real tattoo, but it looks like that was a real tattoo. And so people are pointing out that they don't see the tattoo. Tell me what even is this? Like, what even is that? This is from what, a bed sheet, a piece of toilet paper? They say he had a broken bone in his neck. Like, what? Now, let me tell you something else. Anybody who's been to federal prison will notice this. He doesn't seem to be going hungry, guys. I mean, that's a belly. That's a gut. And it's not to say that people don't get fat in prison, because there's plenty of access to junk food and everything else. But when you're in solitary confinement, and when you're in a special housing unit, and when you're on suicide watch, you don't have access to that stuff. Normally, you don't get access to any of that stuff. Normally, all you get is the jail food, and you're losing weight. You're thin. But I don't know. Maybe that's a stretch. It's just, that's just something that came to my mind. So is this just like a body cam footage, or what is this? And what is this? So he broke a bone in his neck and almost cut his head off with a bed sheet in 15 minutes? Because that's the time frame between the cell checks. But Kash Patel says he's convinced Epstein killed himself. All right. Now, let's go into our latest with the Epstein files, shall we? Now, remember, so we are going to read directly from these files again today. This is for documentary purposes only. We are not here to make any allegations, any accusations, any suggestions. You can decide for yourself. We try to avoid most opinion and commentary on these things as we go through them. We do a little bit, but this is mostly for documentary purposes. We will read this for you to see, make up your own mind, but we go back into the Epstein files for the third straight day, and nothing really gets better. This is from Ronald Weiser, subject. So from Ronald Weiser to redacted, subject, Veterans Today, the Mossad connection, Trump, Epstein, Clinton exposed murder, child sex abuse. And this is pretty much all redacted. And actually, if you go here, you can kind of see, if you zoom in, I'm not going to bother zooming in, but if you see here, guys, you can see these are double redactions. The only other name we have here is Larry Brayboy. These are double redactions. So originally you can see there's this little white line here, and these are strewn about this redacted page. So originally they only redacted something here, and you can see it's only like names or keywords that gets redacted. And then somebody came in and just redacted the whole thing. So this is a double redacted email here. Very strange email, to say the least. From redacted to Jeffrey E. I found at least 3 very good young poor, but we was so tired. I will cover up this week. Meet this one, not the beauty queen, but we both likes her a lot. Based off this timestamp, I'm thinking maybe somebody sent this really late or really early in the morning, and maybe not sober. I found at least 3 very good young poor. I will cover up this week. Meet this one, not the beauty queen, but we both likes her a lot. From redacted to JE vacation. Subject PS. Hate letters pouring in off the Reuters piece, one of which I answered as you saw. But in a day or two, The Guardian will come out with a lengthier piece in which they tried to trap me and succeeded in good part because it was Sunday and I was already enjoying myself. So again, it sounds like maybe some inebriation. The key are the 14 to 15-year-old girls. I'm a sexual pervert because I say they are now of reproductive age. I do hope there is no legal jeopardy for you in this new flurry of activity. And my heart goes out to you, brother. Being called a sexual pervert is no fun. Less so if you have served time for the crime. As I have not, they are calling me one merely for not urging your death by beheading. We will be back in touch. Hope you are fine and more than well protected. Looking at this again, you can probably, there's clues to who sent this email. That's the name is redacted here. Again, you got to ask with all these things, why are these names redacted? But we're talking about 14 and 15-year-old girls basically saying, oh, I'm a sexual pervert. I'm being accused of being a sexual pervert. You spent time in jail for doing it. So whoever, I guess, Reuters and The Guardian wrote a piece about in 2015, that might be your clue of who sent this. Now, the obvious question when we go through these, and we continue to, is why are these names redacted? We've got another one right here. Why would this name be redacted? From redacted to JE vacation. New Brazilian just arrived. Sexy and cute, 9 years old. Now, there's one thing that we keep seeing is these equal signs. Who knows what that means? We do see them strewn throughout these emails, and sometimes it looks like they're using it for an E. I don't know why the equal sign is always showing up, but okay. So all we can say here is it looks like they're saying a 9-year-old just showed up for, purposes. Now, they obviously have images attached. Now, we haven't seen these images, and I would imagine any access to these images, they're going to be redacted. You're not going to see the 9-year-old or whatever it is that they're probably sending here so that you can say, oh, look, we just got this new 9-year-old Brazilian to go down here and do whatever to. But why are these names redacted? Here's why. And this has been my belief, and I've been saying this, and I think this is the confirmation. When they talk about protecting the victims, folks, when they talk about protecting the victims, this is who they're talking about. They're considering Jeffrey Epstein's friends, clients, whatever. They're considering all the people that went to this island victims. Now, how could they possibly justify that? The only way I think they can justify that is because they're being blackmailed. So they're saying, well, I mean, it looks like all of this is consensual. I mean, this doesn't look like whoever sent this is being forced to talk about a new 9-year-old here that they have at the island. Sexy and cute. This looks like they're part of an operation. What they're saying here is that this is the only way I can justify it. And I'm not saying it's justified, but in their eyes, these are victims of blackmail. So at some point throughout this operation, the people who were getting redacted and were saying, why would you redact these names? We need to know these names. Well, because at some point in time, they did something and they were being blackmailed. And so maybe they were being blackmailed and that's how they got brought in. Or, you know, maybe it was all voluntary, but it's all this mutual blackmail society. It's like, hey, you know, you like what we do here. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to go down to that temple on the other side of the island and you're going to, you know, you're going to do some sick stuff. And it's going to be recorded. But hey, you're one of us now. This is just, you know, this is our mutual society here. We all had to do it. You know, this is your initiation. We all had to do it. It's okay. Hey, you're playing ball with us. We're in the same league now. But you're going to have to go over to the temple over there and you're going to have to do this and we're going to record it. And this is how we all stay on the same page. So I think whatever you think about the equal sign, I think that this is who they're considering a victim. I think all these redacted names they're considering victims because at some point in time or in some way, shape, or form, they were also being blackmailed. And so that's why they say they're victims, and that's why they redact their names. 2 redacted from How Do I Look? Subject, Dear Fairy Godmother. Hi, Aunt Ghislaine. So I'm assuming this is to Maxwell here. Hi, Aunt Ghislaine. I hope you are well. I look forward to seeing you when that might be. However, I'm not sure. I'll email you when I'm able to do something with you. As for my wish list of actresses I'd like to do nasty things to, though not complete, would probably look something like this. Natalie Portman, possibly Jennifer Love Hewitt, Denise Richards. As for things I'd like to do, whether it be in London, New York, New Mexico, or the Caribbean, not quite sure at all. I will look into it. In New York, besides, see the sites, possibly some theater or something of that sort. Anyway, I've got to run. Thank you very much for offering me all of these things. All of these things only add up to the reason I would want to be there to see you, your nephew, redacted. Now you can say the nephew here is, there's nothing illegal about this. It's fantasies, let's say. But aside from that, this is some sort of insinuation. There's some sort of understanding here, it appears, that Ghislaine Maxwell has access to make these things happen, is kind of the assertion. Now, this is an email to redacted from Jeffrey Epstein. Now, this is a bunch of Bible verses. I'm going to read some of these. And what sticks out to me is if you've ever done, if you've ever read the Bible or you've kind of done the exercise of reading it and taking down Bible verses that mean something to you, that are near and dear to you, or hit you in your heart, hit you in your soul, and you want to remember them, you want to take them down. I know I did that when I was in prison. And so I've got a list in the Bible I was reading in prison, and I've got a list of all my favorite Bible verses. And, for me, it was meaningful. It was verses about going through struggle, going through hardship, standing strong in the face of tyrants and evil. That was the kind of stuff that was meaningful to me when I was in prison. And you can imagine that that's something that would be meaningful to me. So when you see the stuff that is meaningful to Jeffrey Epstein in this email, I think it's very telling. So here's the Bible verses that are apparently meaningful to Epstein. Ezekiel 9:6, slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children and women. So killing little women, little children and women, that felt near and dear to Epstein. Isaiah 13:6, their children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Their houses shall be spoiled and their wives ravished. So again, it looks like we're talking about killing children and raping women. So this is what Epstein is, it's near and dear to him. Deuteronomy 13:15, thou shalt surely smite the inhabitants of that city with the edge of the sword, destroying it utterly. Again, killing, occupying. Exodus 32:27, thus said the Lord God of Israel, put every man his sword by his side and go in and out from gate to gate throughout the camp and slay every man his brother and every man his companion and every man his neighbor. Again, killing, death. Deuteronomy 21:10 through 12. When thou goest forth to war against the enemies, and the Lord thy God hath delivered them into thine hands, and thou hast taken them captive, and seest among the captives a beautiful woman, and hast a desire unto her, that thou wouldest have her to thy wife. So it's all about death. So I see this. These are all Old Testament verses. And so I see this and I think this is what's near and dear to Epstein. He likes pointing out Bible verses that, in his interpretation, I guess, give him the right to rape women and kill everybody. It's amazing, isn't it? That's what he felt was meaningful to him. To redacted from Jeffrey Epstein. And actually, I guess the original one is from redacted to Jeffrey Epstein. Thank you for a fun night. Your littlest girl was a little naughty. Epstein someone responds, great. Looks like Epstein responding great to his littlest girl being a little naughty. But nothing to see here, guys. Nothing to do an investigation over. And whoever was with the littlest girl being naughty is redacted. Because they're a victim, obviously. Not the little girl. This person's the victim. From redacted to redacted. Subject, woman who accused John of God, cult leader, of rape, mysteriously kills herself at Spanish home. There's a story for you. Spoke of this going on at Zorro Ranch. She has said on record that Epstein offered her money to do this, birth babies for black market youth. Now, I don't want to spend much more time on this. If you know about the John of God story, then you kind of understand a little bit of the backdrop here and a little bit of the reality of this. No need for investigation. You know, when they've raided Epstein Island, they raided Epstein's Florida mansion, they raided Epstein's New York mansion. They never raided Zorro Ranch, at least that we know of. Do I need to read that for you? From redacted to redacted one more time. Subject, who is accused John of God, cult leader, of rape, mysteriously kills herself at Spanish home. Spoke of this going on at Zorro Ranch. She has said on record that Epstein offered her money to do this, birth babies for black market use. Excuse me. From redacted to redacted, birth babies for black market youth. Nothing to see here. No cause for investigation. No inclination of criminal behavior. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this very calmly and move on. If you have seen this email and you go out in front of the public, whatever your platform is, And if you have seen this email that says birth babies for black market use, and you go out and you tell your audience, whatever the platform, that there's nothing to see in these emails and we need to move on and there's no evidence of criminality, you are a demon. You are a demon. Or you are cooperating with demons. From Deepak Chopra to Jeffrey Epstein, the mind bleeds into the world. God is a construct. Cute girls are real. Now, I don't claim to know much about this Deepak Chopra, but apparently he's some like spiritual leader or something, and I guess he was friends with Epstein and going to the island. Notice how they didn't redact his name. Wonder what cute girls he's talking about. Hopefully they're of age, right, Mr. Chopra? From Jeffrey E. to Ehad Barak. Boys said he got to the Mossad guys through you. True? Jeffrey Epstein talking about the Mossad guys. Keep that in mind, as this has been an ongoing trend. Epstein, Mossad, ongoing trend. Keep that in mind, because we're eventually going to land it. So it looks like, again, all we have here is the JE vacation email. Amin Parison was about to write you, and it popped up. She is a classic stage 3. So this is where they're talking about victims, stage 3, special abilities. It's very much like Stranger Things type of stuff that they're talking about in that email. It's like, oh, they have special abilities. We abuse them. It makes the special abilities come out. From redacted to Jeffrey Epstein. This was my idea a while ago. I still think the best and most dramatic cures will come from far away stool samples that bring in different microbes like healthy baby poop in Nepal mountains, etc. And then they share this story about a new kind of transplant bank. Now, as much as we can insert a little humor here. You know that South Park did an episode about this, the spice melange, about how they were always focusing on having the right feces and like injecting themselves with feces for their own health and their own microbiomes. And apparently somebody is sending emails to Jeffrey Epstein about this and the stories about this. So you got the last email, like the Montauk Project in New York. You've got this email, like the Spice Melange in South Park. From redacted to Jeffrey Epstein, subject, help. I have a migraine and I am pregnant. Do you know who I could go see who could help? Thank you. From Nicole Junkerman to Jeffrey Epstein in New York. So I guess that's Nicole saying I can't help, which is funny. I don't know where her name pops up. I guess Epstein forwarded this email to her. And then when she said she couldn't help, then said, please call Woody and tell him it's important. So there's another trend of this, getting pregnant, babies for black market use. It's like there's something going on here. To Martin Nowak from Jeffrey Epstein. The first email here. Our spy was captured after completing her mission. Did you torture her? Did you torture her? That name comes up again from Martin Nowak to Ghislaine Maxwell. Dear Ghislaine, many thanks again for your amazing hospitality. I am so very sorry I caused you so much worry and that I spoiled this day. I am so happy that I did not kill anybody. My perspective of life has changed somehow. Lots of love, Martin. From Redacted to Jeffrey Epstein, a series of emails here. Got it. Amazing old male and amazing hunt. My bankers should be careful. Great photo. Thanks. Thrilling hunt. What are we hunting here, guys? Most dangerous game? From JE Vacation to Redacted. What would you like me to do with your friend? From JE Vacation to Redacted. Do you want me to try to do her or just torture her? Hit on her. From Epstein Vacation to Redacted. Understood. Thanks. She wrote me on BlackBerry Messenger that you are very nice and clever and sent a smiley face. She has excellent oral skills. To Epstein Vacation from Tancredi Marchiolo. I wrote her that she is generally unpolite and not thankful. Just like that, she should be more thankful in life and joy. There's basically no context in this one. Please don't rape and murder my family. You barbarian, you spend billions supplying the Palestinians. You make a deal with the devil against your own. F you. I want my redacted, and yes, it was you who redacted. From Redacted to JE Vacation. Subject, twin sisters try to get pregnant with ovaries they froze, 2019, and they're just sharing these emails. So they're sharing stories. Oh, we need to look into baby poop for our health. Oh, we need to look into how we can make black market babies. Oh, look, we can freeze embryos. Again, there's a trend here. This is an unclassified FBI document. Case agent name redacted from 2020. Field office, Los Angeles. List of all present, redacted. Confidential human source was asked by the handling agent about information they're aware of. Improper domestic or foreign influence over the electoral process. And then other names mentioned in this email: Dershowitz, Kushner, Epstein, Mossad agents, Qatar, Turkey, Syria, Iran. It's all connected. It's all connected. Now, I'm going to have more on this coming up, ladies and gentlemen. That's all of the actual file contents that we have for today. We take a short break, and on the other side, we're going to be joined by Liz Crokin to talk about this and the Pizzagate connections. Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to the Owen Report on the Win Network.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's some heavy stuff. You know it's heavy stuff. But you know what else is heavy and rich, tastes great? Blackout Coffee, the official coffee of the Owen Report. And I'm telling you, I got friends, family, they come over to my house. They ask for coffee. I show them my coffee pantry. I say, what do you want? We got all kinds of single-serve pods, all kinds of different flavors. In fact, right now, you can go to blackoutcoffee.com/Owen. You can see all the single-serve pods. So if that's the type of coffee you like to consume, they've got all the different flavors for you. Some sweet. They've got some chocolate, some caramel. They've got just the normal stuff, like the Morning Reaper, the Brutal Awakening. So I've got those options for them. If they like brewing a whole pot, I've got family, they only want to brew. That's all they want to do. They just want to brew their own. They want the whole pot of coffee. That's great. We got options for them. The Brutal Awakening, the Morning Reaper, the Smooth Finish, and the Pitch Black Espresso. I have all of these in my house. I'm not sure what's the most popular. I actually like the Pitch Black Espresso the most, personally, is my favorite. But then I found out that the light roasts have more caffeine, so I'm kind of leaning towards the Smooth Finish. But I do like the taste of the Pitch Black Espresso. All kinds of coffee, ground or whole bean if you like to ground it up yourself. Covert Op Cold Brew, low voltage decaf, and a couple more there for you. So if you want to do the whole brews, brew yourself a pod every morning, they've got your options there too. Or, you know me, you know I can't stop talking about the instant coffee. And right now at blackoutcoffee.com/Owen, they've got a volume discount for you. 15% off 1 box, 20% off 2 boxes, 25% off 3 boxes, and 30% off 4 boxes. I'm a madman. I got the 4-box deal. I've got so much premium instant coffee I should be taken care of for a while. And anybody else that comes over wants some premium instant coffee, they're taken care of too. You got an office, you got a bunch of employers, they like drinking coffee, but you never know when. Great option to have at your office, by the way. You know, sometimes you don't want to brew the full pot of coffee. You don't want to deal with it and cleaning it up and the whole thing. You just want 1 cup. That's it. Instant coffee, premium instant coffee. That's the way to go. And the doubters that are out there, because there's always going to be the doubters. It's perfectly reasonable. You hear about instant coffee. No, I'm a coffee snob. I'm not doing it. To the doubters, give it a shot. You're going to be surprised. This is the best instant coffee on the market. There's really nothing even else that compares, folks. So I understand the doubt about instant coffee. This will blow your mind. Take advantage of this. Give it a try. You won't regret it. Great at work as well for instant coffee, premium instant coffee. Blackoutcoffee.com/Owen, the official coffee of the Owen Report.
You found your political compass, the Owen Report.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are very honored to be joined by our next guest, and I'm not sure if there is a better guest when it comes to connecting the Epstein emails to Pizzagate and everything else in between, and that is, of course, Liz Crokin joining me now. First of all, Liz, I know you've been very busy doing the media circuit lately, and I salute you for that. I know it's not the funnest thing to have to go on show after show, including your own shows, and cover and talk about this stuff. But, you know, the thing that we have in common, and it's been the case for a decade now, is that this stuff matters to us. And, you know, you kind of, for somebody like me that's just so embedded in the political world, you just hit pause. You hit pause in the political news. You hit pause on, you know, party politics and all this stuff. And you say, hey, hold on. Look at what we're dealing with here. We're talking about innocent victims, children, sex slaves, trafficking, and God knows what else that we see in these emails. It's even hard to even comprehend some of it. But Liz, as we're getting these emails and texts and everything else that's coming out here this week, just for somebody with your background and the knowledge and the perspective and the context to connect it to the other stuff, what is it like for you to go through this and read this, having that background set of information and knowledge?
Right. So I've been exposing sex trafficking and these elite pedophile rings, specifically Pizzagate, since the Podesta emails came out in 2016. And I come with a background, at that point in time, I'd already been in mainstream media for over 2 decades. And I had a journalism degree. I got my first news job when I was 16 or 17 years old. And, I knew that pedophilia existed and I knew that sex trafficking existed. What I didn't know until 2016 is, number one, how widespread it was. And number two, the most powerful people in the world were involved in it, from, heads of state, government, politicians, members of Congress, Hollywood, from what we're learning now from the Epstein emails, like people in positions of power in every institution, every religion, anyone in a position of power, like they seem to have infiltrated absolutely everything. Now, when I started exposing Pizzagate in 2016, it became very clear to me very quickly that it wasn't just child sex trafficking and, the rape and torture of children. I learned that they were doing other really horrific, sick things, such as satanic rituals, satanic ritualistic abuse, child sacrifices, adrenochrome, cannibalism. Human hunting parties, like the list goes on. And that kind of stuff is really hard for anyone that's sane to digest. And so covering this topic that has been not only completely ignored by the mainstream media, but they've just been frantically denying it this whole time to this day, that's been really hard to cover. And it's something that's been very hard for the average person to believe at all. Nobody wants to believe this stuff is real. So covering it has been a complete and total nightmare because everyone thinks you're crazy. No one wants to believe it. They don't actually believe the crazy people that are doing this are crazy. They believe the messengers like me are crazy. However, fast forward to last Friday when these files were released, we saw those emails sent to Jeffrey Epstein and his associates, or sent by Jeffrey Epstein, prove that all of this stuff is real. And when I looked through John Podesta's emails in 2016, where they were using well-known pedophile code words such as pizza in a context that doesn't apply to food, and they were talking about torturing or torture rooms, and they were talking about children going to parties for entertainment, listing their ages, which all those emails were horrific, and it was very obvious they were trafficking kids from those emails. But then you take these emails that have been released and it proves that they're doing all of that stuff, but so much more. These emails, in my opinion, validate the darker stuff, like the Dr. Mengele kind of experiments, the satanic ritualistic abuse, the sacrifices, the murder, the cannibalism. And all you have to do is read the emails and listen to their words. And you can see that, yeah, this stuff is very real. These people are involved in all this horrific satanic stuff. And this completely and totally validates Pizzagate. Not only does it validate Pizzagate and that it's real, it proves it is way bigger than anyone knew. Even me.
Yeah. And you know what's even crazier about it is it seems like there's 2 different networks operating. And I'm not even, I'm not even getting into the political partyism of it. I think that people that are getting into the political partyism of it are like trapped in a matrix that they still need to escape. But it does seem to be like we've seen the code, like the code language with pizza and some other stuff that connect the WikiLeaks emails from 2016 to the Epstein emails from 2026. Like there's enough connecting of the dots with the language and the verbiage that they use. And then some of the art that has kind of popped up from the Podesta art to some of the EU art that's mentioned in some of the Epstein files. So it looks like there are connections with the 2 groups, but they do seem to be 2 totally different entities. They do seem to be 2 totally different entities, 2 totally different groups of people that are engaging in this same stuff, which I guess is not too far-fetched. It's like, if you got a big city and you've got a big cocaine dealer over here and a big cocaine dealer over here, everybody's going to go to their favorite dealer or whatever, have their own little fiefdom of cocaine. except we're talking about pedophiles and child sex abuse.
Yeah, I mean, so what I've learned by exposing elite pedophile rings over the years is that there's all kinds of different rings, and they're everywhere. They're all over the world, unfortunately. And you will have rings that, like local rings in different states, where it'll be some kind of an elite ring where it'll be, powerful people within that state. So you might have a police chief, you might have local politicians, you might have local police officers. And so that there'll be like some, smaller ring in pockets all over the country, but then you will have the bigger rings, such as, someone like Diddy or Jeffrey Epstein. But at the end of the day, all of these people connect. And when you look at Jeffrey Epstein and the people that were clearly involved in his ring, they do connect to the people involved in the Hillary Clinton, John Podesta ring. And I would argue that that's the same ring. Those people were very close. I mean, we know the Clintons have been at Jeffrey Epstein's islands, like Bill over 25 times, Hillary at least 6 as of, 2016. But more importantly, the Clinton Foundation was a front for child sex trafficking, which has been proven through official government records. And we know that both Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein were, according to them, not according to Liz Grogan, according to them, were co-founders of the Clinton Foundation and working with the Clinton Foundation, which again was a front for child sex trafficking. So yeah, and in terms of the political stuff, what I would say is that I agree. Like this goes beyond political parties. It goes beyond everything, actually. Religion, like nationality. These people, what we should be calling this, we should be calling this the pedophile party. Okay. There's no more like Republican, Democrat. There is the pedophile party, because you have people that claim to be Republicans, that claim to be Democrats, that were involved in his pedophile ring. We saw Bush Sr., in the emails with the most horrific claims you could ever imagine. I don't know if you've talked about the Bush Sr. email
we've been reading the emails all week, every day.
Yeah. So, that was talking about rape and trafficking that happened on a yacht party. And then it was talking about babies being ripped apart and eaten. I mean, it's the most disgusting thing ever. But we also learned that this goes beyond political lines from the Podesta emails, because in the Podesta emails, we had Tony Podesta bragging about how he and I believe John too were good friends with former Speaker of the House, who also was a pedophile, Dennis Hastert, and he was Republican. And Tony was bragging about how he was still good pals with him, years after he'd been convicted of pedophilia crimes, right? So like these people are in a party, and it's not Republican or Democrat, it is the pedophile party.
And by the way, you talk about the Hastert one, some of this stuff is dated a little too far back to have like a digital archive, like an email or such stuff. So it's easier to maybe claim, oh, I didn't know what he was doing, or I didn't communicate with him afterwards. The people that were communicating with Epstein after he was already convicted, they have no excuse. And they can't deny it, because we have their digital records, including members of this administration that claimed they quit talking to Epstein after he was convicted. And now, according to the emails, we find out that those are false claims, because we see them communicating still. Yeah,
and I don't know if you saw, but Deepak Chopra. So he prides himself on being some like spiritual guide or advisor, whatever. I mean, he came out and released a statement. I just saw it right before I came on with you. And, he's apologizing. He's claiming that he didn't commit any crimes. It's like, you're this like supposed to be like this moral authority character. Like your whole brand is like, spirituality and peace and like all this bogus crap. And like, you literally emailed him years after he was arrested the first time, for trafficking and pedophilia crimes. Not only did you email him, you literally emailed him about cute girls. You didn't say women. You said girls. When you said girls, I'm thinking children. So like, these people that, tell us how to lead our lives, and they have this like spiritual, religious, moral authority. So many of them are involved and they're guilty. It's disgusting. And yeah, there's no excuse. After he was already arrested and exposed the first time, which, that whole case started in like, I think 2005 or 2006, and he was thrown in jail. He went to solitary confinement, and then he kind of got his sweetheart deal, whatever. I mean, even the media reported on that then. You know, everyone that's chosen to still hang out with him, party with him, email with him, go to the island, go to the dinners, you know, even the media, you know, there was that famous dinner with Katie Couric and like Chelsea Handler and like fellow pedophile Woody Allen, I believe, was at this dinner too. I mean, so many of these people hung out with him and, you know, for years afterwards. So I'm actually glad that we have all those emails from after his first conviction, because it just shows you how sick and hypocritical these people are. None of these people are who they claim to be. They're all frauds. They're all evil. They're all disgusting. And they were all kissing Jeffrey Epstein's ass.
And I believe Allen and Couric have both had their names pop up in the emails.
Are you talking with who else did you say? Like Alan Dershowitz or
Woody Allen?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, he's all over there.
And Dershowitz, and you know, Dershowitz too. But he, you know, he's I was just his lawyer. Well, we'll see where the dust settles on all of this.
That'll be interesting to see what. So, I will give him credit though, where most people just stay silent or they just deny everything. Like he actually has like at least addressed all the allegations that have been made against him. So, whereas most people just don't say anything, they just, you know, or whatever. So yeah, we'll see where that goes. But I find it very hard to believe he didn't know it. I mean, he was his lawyer, so it's very hard to believe.
He knew something. Yeah, he definitely knew something. Yeah. But attorney-client privilege, as they say. For some context of some things you just said, there was a guy in Australia. The headlines were, I believe he was, I forget what his role in government was. He got busted in a satanic, in a satanic pedophile cult in Australia. And people were digging through some of the socials and they found him constantly pictured with police chiefs. And it's like, yeah, that's how they get away with it. The Clinton testimony, you know, they've been held in contempt of court. Mm-hmm. They should be in jail. The Clintons are said they're.
Hold on for 1 second before I forget this. You mentioned being photographed with police chiefs. So who else was photographed with police chiefs right after the Podesta emails came out? James Alefantis, who owns Comet Ping Pong in DC, and his entire Instagram page was littered with, you know, pedophilia comments, children taped to tables, you know, photos of infants for sale. I mean, just the most disgusting.
I'm going to play Ben Swann's original report that I guess is why he got fired. I know when you sign off, we're going to play that report. I know you talked to him yesterday.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And, you know, I don't really want to get into it. You can feel free to get into it right now. But it's crazy what we went through in 2016 covering that stuff. Some of it got public, you know, in Ben Swann's case, obviously, he wasn't on TV anymore. Some of it was kind of easy for the public to see. A lot of the stuff behind the scenes, you either couldn't talk about, didn't want to talk about, whatever. It was crazy what we went through in 2016 dealing with all of that. And then they eventually just swept it all under the rug. It's like, if you were there for Pizzagate, now we have all the double confirmations in the Epstein emails. It's like, if you were there for Pizzagate, we can't unsee what we saw. We know what we saw. Right. Some of us saw stuff even firsthand, not just through the internet and social media that they were, for whatever reason, willing to post on there. But we know what we saw.
Yeah. And, you know, so we've known about this for 10 years. And, you know, we're getting harassed, threatened, intimidated nonstop for trying to expose it. And at the same time, we're being slandered and attacked by normies that normies who only listen to the mainstream media that believe that we're nuts, that the people that are, you know, raping and eating kids aren't. And having to deal with that for a decade was a complete and total nightmare, you know, but thank God all that stuff is actually finally coming out. And with Ben Swann, you know, what they did to him was awful. And what's so crazy to me about his report is someone, again, that actually has been a journalist for a very long time, has a journalism degree, had a very successful journalism career. His report, I feel, was so fair. It was 100% accurate. And he just was simply like, he didn't really make a lot of accusations. He just asked basic, simple, reasonable questions. And for that, they destroyed his career. You know, they put him on a leave of absence. They took down his social media. Like I was telling him last night, when I saw what they were doing to him, I genuinely thought that I thought he was dead. I thought they had killed him. So
well, if I started posting stuff on social media with, you know, kids duct taped, or I started having art in my house with, you know, dead kids or chopped up kids, I think my friends and family might start asking some questions. You know, I think that, you know, having people ask questions might be fair. Or let's say somebody comes over to do an interview and they say, well, golly gee, is that child torture art in your house right there? It's like, these are totally fair questions to ask. Now, a lot of people may not have seen that at the time. That's why when you sign off, we're going to play the original Ben Swan report. But, it's not even like, I don't feel, I mean, I guess there's some level of vindication here. I guess there's some level of validation. I didn't need it. I already had it at the time.
Yeah.
But it's not, there's no, I don't know how to quantify this. It's like, none of that matters to me until there are significant arrests and proof that we've put an end to this. None of it really matters to me until there's total proof that we're putting an end to this.
Right. I mean, it's nice that we have some backup. It takes some of the weight off of us. And it's nice that hopefully people now will be less likely to call us crazy. Hopefully the mainstream media will be less likely to, mock us and try to destroy our lives. But we actually put our necks out there because we actually have integrity and we care about children and we're horrified by this. Right. And so, being vindicated about the most horrible thing in the world that nobody wants to be true, it's really hard to really be like, it's a hard thing to celebrate because it's like, well, this is still happening. These people have been brought to justice. So it's a weird thing.
Yeah, show me the kids that you rescued, right? Like, show us all the children that you rescued, or I mean, God forbid, the corpses of them.
Yeah, I think that there's probably so many more victims of Jeffrey Epstein and his co-conspirators and clients than we could even imagine. I think for sure hundreds, probably thousands, and I believe probably most of them are dead. And now reading the latest dump, the way that they were talking about some of the victims dying, or, how they were talking about offing people, murdering people. Like, I mean, they talk about murdering people just like you and I would talk about, like, hey, do you want to go grab a drink after this podcast? Like that. It's just like a normal thing that they make it seem like it's a normal thing that they just do like literally every day. So, but they're psychopaths.
And maybe they do. Again, like somebody that likes cocaine, they snort a lot of cocaine. Somebody that abuses children, they probably abuse a lot of children. And by the way, and I don't know if you monitor this like I do, this is part of my daily routine, but I got my side screen over here. It kind of gets cut off with this shot. I got my side screen over here. I monitor the mainstream news pretty much every waking hour. I've seen maybe 30 minutes of coverage in the cable news networks. I did see there was an ABC news piece. ABC actually did a piece on this, like an actual presentation piece on this. I think it was about 5 minutes of a package. But I've seen maybe 30, an hour max, maybe combined since Monday of coverage of this. I've covered it every day. Even on one single day, I will just spend an hour just reading the emails. So to me, they're covering this up. There's no other way to put this. The cable news networks, the mainstream news networks are covering this up. They won't even read these emails on the air. They just kind of give it a little contextual stuff, and then they decide how they want to politicize it, whether it's against Trump or whether it's against Clinton or whether it's against the Democrats, whatever. I mean, to me, the mainstream media cover up is an angle that, it's hard to focus on that because we're talking about them slicing up pizza for your enjoyment. But no, the mainstream media is covering this up. Do you think I don't think all the people in the mainstream media are evil necessarily. I do think they sell their soul to a bit. I do think they sell their soul for that big dollar contract. And then they get to that point and it's just, hey, I'm just here to do a job, right? I'm just here to do whatever news they tell me to do. So they sell their soul a little bit. I don't think they're necessarily evil, but then I have to ask myself, how are you not presenting this stuff to your audience? How are you not showing your audience this stuff?
Yeah, because they're all owned and controlled by the same people who are tied to Jeffrey Epstein. So, people within the mainstream media, not all of them are bad, but, I've been talking to people in the mainstream media. I used to be a part of it. And I got fired from multiple jobs for exposing this stuff, but a lot of them would just tell me that you were not allowed to talk about it. We'd lose our jobs. And so, we know it's real, but, we're not allowed to talk about it. And then, and people don't want to lose their jobs. They don't want to get canceled. And it's a real problem. The mainstream media is treating this very similarly to how they treated Pizzagate in 2016 and the Podesta emails. Chris Cuomo told people that it's illegal to read the Podesta emails, which was a lie. And, they all said it was a debunked, it was a debunked conspiracy theory, but no one explained how it was debunked. So it was never debunked. So they just, blatantly lied about it. And then they would come after people like you and I, Alex Jones, and just attack us relentlessly and call us crazy. Like they wouldn't even acknowledge that I was a journalist. And I had a whole journalism career before I started covering this. They would call me like a self-described journalist or self-proclaimed journalist. And, they just erased like my whole history. But what is interesting with the trends in the mainstream media today with this new dump, there is a difference I've noticed because I track the mainstream media too. When Pizzagate came out, they launched a full-scale attack against anyone that was telling the truth about Pizzagate, and they launched a whole psyop to redefine what Pizzagate is, number one, and then they also basically said that it's all fake, it's not true. So now we have like the extended version of Pizzagate with the latest Jeffrey Epstein files, and they're not attacking people like you and I. They're not mentioning Pizzagate. They haven't created the psyop, at least yet. They're just ignoring it completely. And I have noticed that they've been ignoring Pizzagate or anything that validates Pizzagate over the past like 2-3 years. Whereas before, like I would do a video or, I would write a story, and then they would just try to debunk it without debunking it and just say I'm crazy. So it is an interesting shift because they're taking a different approach where they're just kind of like acting like this isn't happening. They're not like singling me out, you out, anyone that's covering it. And I think that they're choosing this strategy because it's gotten too big now. There's too many people covering pizza. What are they going to do? Write a hit piece on like thousands of influencers and, independent journalists talking about it?
I do think about that though, Liz.
Mm-hmm.
I do think about how they're going to strike back. They always do. I don't know if it'll be, like you said, kind of what we've endured in the past. They always find a way of striking back. I do think about that. And by the way, for a little more context here, and think whatever you want about Megyn Kelly. She's talking about this now. Megyn Kelly's talking about it now.
When is was she talking about today? Because I haven't heard.
Well, I'm not saying she's going all in, but I mean, I think that she'll cover whatever is kind of trending. But it's funny that I kind of watch this evolution of Megyn Kelly now, and trying to kind of go maybe more of a Tucker Carlson.
She does seem more independent now. I mean,
he is definitely more independent, but here's why I bring it up. She did come to InfoWars to do a hit piece on Alex Jones back when I was working there. I believe that was 2016 or something.
I remember that.
And that was in the midst of Pizzagate. That was in the midst of Seth Rich. And in the beginning of that piece, because I was part of that piece, she interviewed me. Now she cut all of my Seth Rich Pizzagate stuff out. But in the intro, she basically is calling us all kooks. She's basically calling us all kooks. We're all crazies because we believe this stuff. But now it's like, yeah, Megyn would probably admit that this stuff is relatively real. And, I'm not expecting an apology or anything like that. But I think it kind of lends to the bigger picture now that it's like, yeah, this is so big that the people that used to call us crazy and cast us off as, conspiracy theorists or whatever, now they realize, okay, either I cover this or I'm going to be the one that looks like the bad guy. It's like the roles have kind of reversed.
Absolutely. And you look at everyone that went to the White House and got the binders. I mean, okay, you guys all did a little photo op. We're so cute. We got like Epstein binders that basically had no new information on Epstein, and everyone like
they were all old. It was all old information. It was like years old.
It was stuff that you and I have been reporting for the past decade, and they're all like, "Oh, it's so cool." But we're gonna go on Fox and like push out our propaganda talking points. So many of them have stayed just completely silent about like all this stuff. But like, here's the thing: everyone's calling them out. Like my whole feed is just people like making fun of them, calling them out, like you're frauds. Like this is the biggest story of our lifetimes. Period. Like the entire world is run by satanic pedophiles. Like period. And like the latest dump 100% confirmed that. And just like biggest story ever. And, so many of them are just like, oh, the Democrats are doing this or Congress.
Yeah, exactly. They're blaming it on Russia, Liz. I got Pete. They're saying, Russia.
Oh, that's such a good one.
Oh, I know. It's hilarious. It's Russia again. Here we go. Meanwhile, I mean, Putin is like the number one world leader. And I'm not saying whatever you think about his politics or him, I'm not whatever. I'm saying Putin does interviews and he says the world is run by satanic, but like he says it in interviews. He's like, yeah, there's a bunch of satanic pedophiles that run the planet. There's a bunch of evil demons running the planet. Putin does say that. I mean, he does.
He's been saying it for over a decade now. And actually the reason I got red pilled on President Putin is because when I started exposing sex trafficking and Pizzagate in 2016, 2017, the whole mainstream media like lied about it. And many of them were just like blatantly attacking me, writing hit pieces on me. And then I noticed that there were a few places that actually would tell the truth about my reporting. And it was Russia State. It was Russia State's media. And I'm like, what? So I'm like, wait, I worked in the mainstream media in the United States and they're all lying about me and my reporting, but like Russia's telling the truth. Like what's happening here? So then I went down the rabbit hole. I'm like, wait, what's going on with Russia and like President Putin? And that's when I found some of his speeches where he was speaking out against pedophilia and Satanism. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And that's when I realized he's not the boogeyman that the media's portrayed him to be, just like, you know, President Donald Trump never was. And that's when I realized, oh, now I know why he's the scapegoat, why they're attacking him, because he's against this. He's not one of them. He's not a Satanist. He's not a pedophile. And if you actually really look into him, you can see that like he actually banned adoptions. Like he banned, I think, the United States from like Russians from like adopted, or Russians allowing their kids to be adopted to people in the United States. There's a lot of things that he's done that our media has not talked about to combat child sex trafficking and pedophilia. I mean, they won't even show a clip of him or quote him ever. If you read any article on Putin in the United States, like they never quote him. So what you have to do is you have to go to Russian media and that's translates what his speeches and whatnot to find out like what he actually says. You know, it's crazy.
And maybe one of the best examples of this recently, and I don't know how much you've dug into this, but they would make these claims that Putin was kidnapping children from Ukraine, when the reality was Putin was taking the children out of the sex trafficking networks that were in Ukraine. That's what was going on. So the Russians went in there. They found some of these sex trafficking networks. They found some of the biolabs, whatever. And I think that's a lot of the reason why the West was panicked over Russia moving in there. Whatever you think about it, I think that's what some of the panic was, and that's why they kept funding Ukraine to try to hold the Russians off as long as possible, so they could get all of their resources out of there, the biolabs, the sex trafficking resources, all of it. But that was a big spin. They said, "Oh, look, Putin is kidnapping the children." No, they were discovering all the sex slaves. They were releasing the sex slaves.
Yeah, and so they always distort it. They always invert it. And so what they were doing is they were accusing him of what they're guilty of. And Ukraine has been a hotspot for child sex trafficking for a very long time. And then we learned from Epstein's emails that they were very interested in Ukraine. They were very interested in just taking down the entire government. And what does that do when you take down a government when there's war in a country? Well, it displaces families. And that's a perfect way to kidnap children and traffic them. Like, why do you think the Clintons loved Haiti so much? Why do you think they love natural disasters so much? Because they go in and
Laura Silsby, folks, look up the name Laura Silsby if you want to find out about the Clintons in Haiti.
Now her name's Laura Silsby Gaylor because she got married.
Doesn't she runs the Amber Alert now too, doesn't she?
Yeah, so she ran Alert Sense, which is part of Amber Alert. So she was charged, I believe, convicted of trying to traffic 33 children. Of course, 33, they love that number. 33 children out of Haiti. And then the Clintons came in to her rescue and they managed to get her released. And then they brought her into a government job where she was in charge of finding missing children. So, and then by the way, it was her lawyer, and I believe her lawyer's spouse were also arrested for trafficking children, I believe in Central America as well. Like these people are all involved in it.
Yeah, it really is crazy. And, a couple other things that came up in this were, Wayfair Gate back a couple years ago when people noticed that there were some oddly priced, way overpriced stuff on Wayfair that just so happened by coincidence, I'm sure, that just so happened to also have the names of missing children in them. I've got a couple examples of this that I'll put on the screen for people that weren't aware of that. So, okay, that kind of came and went, whatever. People covered it at the time. It came and went. Then we saw some Wayfair receipts inside of the Epstein files. And so that kind of brought that connection back up. So it's just like, it's amazing. You know, you had the frazzle drip, you got all of this stuff over the years. And it's just like so much of it gets kind of connected to these Epstein files, which are government documents. Nobody's, you know, it's not like you can just say, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. These are government documents. So it's like, how are you going to deny that?
Yeah. And so Wayfair was 100% true. And I have a theory about Wayfair and other e-commerce sites. So what they basically were doing, what you said, they would have an item like a sock for sale for $10,000, like, or, you know, like a crappy nightstand made out of like cardboard for $15,000. And then the item would be labeled the name of a missing child, and the names of the children. Some of the names were like crazy names, you know,
And
like
anybody
names
can use that, right? It's not like it's just a site anybody can go post on, right?
yes, but it wasn't just that site. I noticed it on Walmart. Walmart.
I saw a couple other of them pop up. I'm not too familiar with how those e-commerce sites work because I don't sell anything on those sites. But it's basically like anybody can get access to them and you can sell whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean, some of them vary differently. But what happened during President Trump's first term is they shut down Backpage, which I believe was one of the mainstream channels that they used, and which was operating over 100 countries or about 100 to traffic children. So when they took down Backpage, they had to move to other locations. And so that's why I think we started seeing this like pop up on Wayfair and other e-commerce sites. And what's so crazy about Wayfair is they did the same thing with Wayfair that they did with Pizzagate. They basically just said, oh no, like this isn't real. We're not trafficking children. And then they offered no explanation as to like why things that cost like $50 maybe is being listed for $5,000 and then missing children's names match up with these items. They just basically said, no, this isn't real. Like there's nothing to see here, move along, like carry along. And they didn't really address it. And then the other thing that was really interesting is that when President Joe Biden became president, 1 year I think it was the Department of State issued their trafficking in persons report. And they had a whole section warning people about conspiracy theories. And they basically said that there's no elite pedophile rings involving the government, politicians, and celebrities, which basically is the definition of Pizzagate. And then they also said that nobody is trafficking children on any furniture websites. Those were the two things that they zeroed in on, Pizzagate and Wayfair, basically. And they said, this isn't real. So don't believe anything you read claiming that any of this exists. And this is when like Diddy was getting exposed and like those people were starting to go down. So it was just, so that's how you know it's real, because they go so out of their way to say this isn't real, but then they cannot prove that it's not real or they can't debunk it. So, you know, the Wayfair and these other e-commerce sites, like all of that should be revisited because obviously there's truth in that.
You know, I want to go back to the beginning here, and you kind of got into some of your background. Our backgrounds are somewhat similar as far as, you know, coming up in the professional world, training, college, and all that. I went into the sports media, eventually switched to politics, but the whole reason why I switched was I had, you know, the light click on one day when I realized that the mainstream media was lying to us. It was like, it was such a revelation to me. I couldn't even believe it. And so naturally I felt I had to go into news. I had to go into politics, current events, because I saw that the mainstream media was filled with lies and propaganda. So I was like, okay, this is what I want to do now. And so when Pizzagate happened, it's like, I feel like most people who are still in touch with their humanity, their soul, they want to be a good person. They look at the world and they say something has gone wrong. Something has gone horribly wrong. This isn't how it's supposed to be. Something is wrong with civilization. It's like, yeah, we got some fancy gadgets and we have some fun things we can do, and it's fun and it's easy to get distracted. But it's like when you strip it all away, there's still something there. Like this is something evil is afoot. Something evil is running around, and I can't quite, you know, understand it or get grips on it, but it's like, I can comprehend it. I can feel it. I can see it's there. And so when Pizzagate happened, it was like, it no longer really became this mystery. It became something that we could finally kind of, you know, clench our teeth onto. So it'd be like, you know, the comparison I guess I make here, the analogy is, it's like if there's a dog who is wondering where the car is going, And this dog is just obsessed. Like, where is this car going? It's always leaving. It's always going, but he can't catch it. And then one day the dog finally catches the car and grips its teeth onto it and gets to see where it's going. And it's like, that's what it felt like to me. It's like, oh, finally, we've got our jaw clinched to the bumper of this car. We get to see where it goes. And it went really exactly, maybe not exactly, but it went a lot of the same directions we thought it would be going. And it's just like, once you see that, there's no going back. Once people see these Epstein files, there's no going back. What was it kind of a similar thing with you, with Pizzagate? How did you end up in this world? Because that's what it was like for me. It was like, oh, I know something isn't right. I know it. And then that was the, like, my first awakening was, wow, the mainstream media lies and propagandizes us. And then the second one with Pizzagate, that was like, oh, we've got our teeth, we've got our jaw on this thing now. Let's see where it goes.
When I was working in media in 2016, I knew the media was corrupt, but I didn't know how corrupt it was. And so, with my experience, I just was like, okay, places like CNN and MSNBC, they're more liberal, they're leftist, like they're fake news. I knew that. I honestly thought that Fox News was fair and pretty accurate, like in 2016, before the Podesta emails came out. And I worked for Bill O'Reilly. I interned for him. Bill was exposing pedophilia in the 90s, and he also was exposing all kinds of Clinton crimes and corruption. And so maybe I was very naive, but with my history, when I first got into news, I think my first job was in 1997. And then I fast forward to a few years later, my first official paid news job that was an internship was with the Chicago Tribune City Newswire. And a lot of the most famous journalists started at the City News Bureau at the Chicago Tribune. And they look at it as almost like a not just a job, but like hard knocks journalism training school. And the joke there is if your mom says she loves you, back it up with 5 sources. And they were so tough. You had to back everything up with 5 sources. You couldn't you get one little thing wrong. The editors were crazy, but it was great training and great education. But that was the mentality there back then. And then fast forward to 2016, I'm still thinking that there's some honest media out there like Fox News. And when the Podesta emails came out, I kept thinking, oh my gosh, here's the proof that the Clintons are not just evil and involved in all kinds of crimes. They're actually involved in human trafficking as well. And I kept thinking, oh, someone at Fox has got to cover this any day now. And then it never happened. And then I watched them cover it up. And I was like, oh. And I had no idea that the entire mainstream media was all controlled. But what happened from when I first started in media in 1997 to 2016 is that, and Mike Smith talked about this in Outer Shadows, is, back in the 80s and 90s, all the newspapers and the local TV stations, up to the cable news, they were owned by probably over 50 different companies. Now I believe it's less than 5 major corporations own everything, from the cable news to newspapers down to the local, TV stations, in the middle of Iowa. And so everything is being syndicated from the same people at the top. And those people are all controlled by the same people who are aligned with Epstein and his associates. And so, of course, they're told that they're not allowed to cover this. And that's why they don't touch it. But I didn't realize that until 2016 and 2017. And I just saw how everyone was either lying about this or not talking about it at all, or just actively covering it up. And that was almost as rude of awakening as learning the truth about the child sex trafficking was. Because when I learned the truth about the child sex trafficking, I was like, there's got to be at least one person in media that's willing to tell the truth about it. And I guess it was just Ben Swan. And then, I would consider you guys were alternative media. You weren't mainstream media, right? And then I was like, oh my God, what? No, they don't exist anymore. Real journalists in mainstream media, they don't exist anymore. And that was so depressing to me, because I actually love journalism. I believe in the truth. That's why I became a journalist, and when I was covering Pizzagate from the beginning, I wasn't thinking, oh, they're going to try to kill me, or I might lose my followers, or I might get canceled, or I might get fired. I was thinking this is the biggest story ever, and they're hurting children. Like this needs to be covered. And I guess no one else in mainstream media thinks that way anymore. And it's very sad.
That's the big awakening. It's when it's like, oh yeah, well, if it was real, they would cover it. And then you learn it's real and they don't cover it. And you're like, oh, okay. I was totally wrong. By the way, I think one great example from recently, I'm sure you've heard of Ivory Hecker. She kind of talked about her journey through the mainstream media. She's gone independent now, and what she dealt with. So let me ask you this in closing, Liz, and we appreciate your time today. Liz Crokin, our guest. Follow her on X at Liz Crokin. We've been popping up her X page there on the screen for you. Where do you go from here? Because, I kind of landed on the conclusion where this week I'm just going to read the emails. I'm just going to read the documents, let people consume them. They can see them for themselves. We'll do a little commentary, a little opinion, try to apply whatever pressure I can, I guess, to the administration. They tell me to shut the F up, literally. But just try to apply whatever pressure we have left to the administration to get some action. It seems like they've already made up their minds. I kind of said, what, as far as the independent media and the other voices out there, I'm going to wait. I'm going to give them a grace period. I'm going to wait and see what happens in this week and where things go. Because I do understand how tough this is for people. And there's a lot at stake. I do understand that. So I'm a little patient, maybe playing a little nice guy. So I've decided, okay, just give the emails to the audience, apply the pressure to the administration where we can, and then I'll kind of reset next week and see where we want to go with this show. But that's been my approach. What about you, Liz? Where does Liz Crokin go from here? What do you think about as far as where we go from here after these emails and the response to it?
Well, I think the story is only going to get bigger and bigger. The cat's out of the bag. Like there's no putting the worms back in the can at this point. Too many people are awake. Too many people are covering it. And now that we know that all these horrific things are true, all this evil is true and it's happening, these people are committing all these crimes against children, we can't let them get away with it. So, I understand why there's criticism of the administration. I understand why there's a lot of questions for the administration right now. There's a lot of people that think that nothing's going to be done, that they've been apathetic and they're not going to do anything. There's not going to be arrests. And actually, I think it's not a bad thing that people think that. We're supposed to criticize the people in positions of power. We're supposed to be questioning our leaders. We're supposed to be questioning the people that we elect into the office, including President Trump. I'm a huge supporter of President Trump. But with that being said, we should be questioning him and his administration, and we should be applying pressure on them. Okay, now we know the truth. It's not a conspiracy theory. They are committing these crimes. Justice needs to happen. We cannot live in a society where people are allowed to rape, torture, traffic, and eat children, and they get away with it. These people are vampires. We cannot coexist with them. We can't. So justice has to happen, and whatever it takes. And I think it's going to take more people getting outraged, mobilizing, signing petitions. Maybe we need to start protesting. Like maybe we need to be filing civil lawsuits, if the government is going to be apathetic or if they're not going to pursue criminal charges against these people. I don't have all the answers, but one thing I know for sure is that these people can't get away with this stuff. And as more people wake up, here's the thing. The good news is that there's more of us than them. Mm-hmm. There's more of us than them, and they do fear us, the pedophiles. If they just let this go, and I say the people in positions of authority, the good guys, so the DOJ, the FBI, like anyone good that might be left at the CIA, and then we have video of the military and we have ICE. If they just let this go, and because what are they doing right now? ICE is arresting, pedophiles, illegal alien pedophiles and sex traffickers that have come here illegally from other countries. So we're gonna arrest them, but the elites are allowed to do this? No, I don't think so. If they don't take action against these elites, I do think at some point, people will start taking matters in their own hands, and that won't be good either. So one way or the other, justice has to happen. And I can tell you one thing, I'm not going to stop fighting or shut up until that happens.
Yeah, and I would even say part of the reason why Mayorkas opened the border was so that they could get as many young children in as possible. And,
Absolutely. They reversed, President Trump had signed so many executive orders and he did so many things to stop the trafficking with migrant children. And President Biden's administration reversed all that stuff strategically so they could traffic children.
They got rid of the DNA test. I mean, I don't know if it gets any worse and obvious than that. That was the obvious thing of, hey, we're bringing in young children to put into the sex trafficking rings, and we're going to do it under Biden, and we're going to just open it wide open, and you're not going to stop us. And so Trump has luckily shut the border down, so they're not getting any new. At least it's been way lower as far as that's concerned, but they're not getting any new product in. Let's say to unfortunately sound very cold-hearted about it, but that's what it is. That's how they view it. That's what they did under Biden, and they're shutting it down. So that's good news.
But again, so they're arresting. So ICE is going out and they're arresting these lower level traffickers, who, by the way, many of them do, in my opinion, supply kids to the elites. So is this going to be a 2-tier like justice systems for the pedophiles, like the ones that are best friends with Jeffrey Epstein and went to the island? Like they're allowed to get away with trafficking kids and raping kids and eating kids or doing satanic rituals on kids. But the MS-13 members, the CJNG cartel members, and the legal aliens aren't. No, you heard a child, you heard a child. I don't care if you're a billionaire or if you have $1 to your name, like end of story. And so, we'll see what happens, but they all have to be held to account.
Yeah. That's a great point right there. I love that way to end it. If you're on the right and you want to see the illegal alien pedophiles and sex traffickers arrested, you better bring that same energy to what we found out with Pizzagate and the Epstein emails. Excellent way to end the interview. Liz Crokin, always an honor, always a pleasure. Follow her on X at Liz Crokin right there on the screen. And you've really been you've been pounding the digital pavement since all this stuff came out. I'm enjoying your content, so appreciate you taking time for us today.
And congrats on the new show.
Thank you very much. We really we enjoy the independent Owen Schroyer a lot.
I'm sure Alex misses you so much. Though.
I don't know about that.
Is he still mad at you? It's okay. And I'm not mad at you. You leave 2 seconds later. Oh, Tim, F you, Owen. So
Liz Crokin, everybody. Always on fire. God bless you, Liz. Thank you. All right. Wonderful stuff. Okay. Wow. That's some heavy hitting stuff. Guys, we're going to play the Ben Swann interview that we were talking about here in just a second. So I want to tell you, we got that coming up. We have Craig Sawyer coming up in the next hour as well. And then we're going to try our best to get through the news today, because there is some news today that I want to get to. And then, of course, we always go to your super chats at the end of the show as well. Folks, we got to tell you about our friends at My Patriot Supply. And boy, oh boy, I mean, more and more reasons, it seems like every day, more and more reasons you need to stash up with emergency food, especially if you haven't done it yet, ladies and gentlemen. Preparewithowen.com. Here's the offer right now. $100 off a 3-month kit. Listen up. The world is getting more unstable and chaotic every day. It seems like everywhere you look, here's another crisis. There's another controversy, conflict, or catastrophe. You can't control what happens out there, but you can control how you prepare for it. You can make sure that no matter what happens, you have the basics covered in case one of these disasters reaches your doorstep. You know, things like having enough food to eat when the shelves are empty, feeding yourself and your family. And when it comes to my family's food security, I trust My Patriot Supply. They've helped millions of Americans get prepared, and they have over 90,000 5-star reviews. As I said, right now, you can get their best-selling 3-month emergency food supply for $100 off. You can see everything that comes along with it right there on the screen. And if you don't have any of this, folks, this is the perfect way to get started. If you haven't done anything as far as emergency food preparedness is concerned, great way to get started right now at preparewithowen.com. This food kit gives you 2,000 calories a day, lasts up to 25 years, and is $100 off for a limited time right now at preparewithowen.com. That's preparewithowen.com, and our friends at My Patriot Food Supply. Folks, if you haven't done this, if you haven't checked the box, this is the way to do it. Preparewithowen.com, $100 off a 3-month emergency food supply. Okay, now we'll consider this our second break of the show, and we're going to play our Ben Swann interview that we've been teasing, and this is the one that I guess ultimately had him kicked off of his news networks. But you can be the judge. You can be the judge. Ben Swann's very professional, I would say, very professional presentation as Pizzagate was happening and all of that. Here was Ben Swann at the time.
Well, Pizzagate, it became a major story weeks ago when an armed man decided to investigate a D.C. area pizza place for himself. This man right here, he carried a rifle into a pizza parlor and then fired it at the floor. Media is telling you the entire story is a hoax or fake news. But what does that even mean? I spent the last month investigating. So what exactly is Pizzagate? And are there any actual facts to support the story? I've got to warn you, what we're going to talk about tonight will be disturbing to some people. But this is a reality check you won't see anywhere else. Pizzagate actually comes from the WikiLeaks release of hacked emails from Clinton campaign chairman John Podesta. In all, WikiLeaks dumped around 50,000 email messages, and it was from those emails that the claims that John Podesta may be part of a child sex trafficking ring come from. Now, to be clear, not one single email in the Podesta emails discusses child sex trafficking or pedophilia. That is a fact. But there are dozens of what seem to be strangely worded emails dealing with pizza and handkerchiefs. Self-described online investigators say that those words in the emails about pizza and the talk of handkerchiefs is code language used by pedophiles. So how did a DC pizza parlor get pulled into the story? Well, again, read any mainstream report and they indicate that Comet Ping Pong Pizza was somehow linked to this fake story and has no relation to anyone involved. But the truth is that's not true either. What media is ignoring is that the Comet Ping Pong Pizza place is actually referenced in the Podesta emails at least a dozen or so times, and that the owner of that place, James Alfantis, is a friend of John Podesta. He was actually named, this is kind of strange, by GQ magazine as one of the top 50 most powerful people in Washington. Yes, we're talking about a pizza parlor owner. Now let's talk facts here. There is no solid evidence that Comet Ping Pong Pizza is being used to run a child sex trafficking ring. But there are some very strange connections between Comet Ping Pong Pizza and a second pizza place 2 doors over, Besta Pizza, and the accusations of pedophilia. Now, this is where things start to get strange when you research this story. Now, to begin, I need to show you a 2007 unclassified FBI document. That document, according to the FBI, contains commonly used symbols by pedophiles to express their preference in children. I want you to see these images here. These are the images. Notice this one on the end, the triangle. That image signifies something called boy love. The pizza place next door to Comet Ping Pong Pizza, Besta Pizza, well, this was their logo until only a few weeks ago. Clearly, you can see that the Besta logo actually contains the same image, I'm going to show you again, as that boy lover image. Interestingly, after Pizzagate investigators pointed this out, Besta Pizza changed their logo, and there it is now. They removed the triangle. Also, Comet Ping Pong, owned by Alfantis, is the place where a number of performance artists perform regularly. 2 of the groups that perform there, who you can see advertised, by the way, on this Comet Ping Pong poster, include a group called Heavy Breathing and another group called Sex Stains. Well, if you check out the YouTube videos by these bands, Heavy Breathing has songs that do joke about pedophilia, and the band Sex Stains has a video that includes, and you see it right there, that same boy lover symbol. It's nearly identical to the one that the FBI does say is a pedophile code symbol for boy love. As I said, there are some strange things there. As for the owner of the pizza place, James Alfantis, well, he was one time in a relationship with David Brock, who ran Media Matters for America. Well, since Pizzagate began to blow up online, he has made his Instagram profile, Jimmy Comet, private. But an archive search of Instagram reveals a number of strange photographs and words with strange and disturbing images associated with them. Look, to the point where we can't show you those pictures. We're not even going to describe them to you because some viewers would find it too disturbing to share on TV. Now let's talk about the Podesta brothers, because remember, it was John Podesta's email that was hacked. In those leaked Podesta emails, John Podesta talks about his close relationship with Dennis Hastert, the former Speaker of the House, who was recently sentenced to 15 months in prison for abusing boys years ago. He was referred to by the judge as a serial child molester. According to the Washington Post, visitors to Tony Podesta's home in Falls Church got an eyeful when they walked into a bedroom at the Podesta residence hung with multiple color pictures by Katie Grannon, a photographer known for documentary-style pictures of naked teenagers in their parents' suburban homes. And to be clear, that just begins to scratch the surface of how strange some of this stuff is. And bear in mind, we can't get into a lot of the real details of it because of the limits on broadcasting this on television. But it is some very strange stuff. Now, keep in mind, again, there is no proof here that there is a child sex ring being operated out of a DC pizza parlor. Investigators have already proven there's nothing to the story, right? Well, actually, no. And that's what you need to know. For all that is here, there has not been one single public investigation of any of this, not from local police, not from the FBI, no one. And that has to be the big question, not for Podesta or for pizza parlor owners, but for law enforcement. Based on what may be or may not be here, the big question is, why hasn't any investigation taken place? That's Reality Check. Let's talk about it on Twitter.
So there you go. That was Ben Swann's piece that ultimately, I guess you would say, had him removed from that job. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back with Craig Sawyer.
You're listening to the Owen Report on the Win Network.
It's the fastest 3 hours on the internet. It's the Owen Report with Owen Schroyer.
All right, guys, joining me now here in the third and final hour of the Owen Report is Craig Sawyer. And if you're not familiar with his work or the group Vets for Child Rescue, we'll learn you a little bit about that. But I'll just say this, as far as boots on the ground work is concerned, dealing with these sex trafficking rings from border to border and inner cities, you're not going to get much of an expert than Craig Sawyer. Really just incredible stories, even stories that implicate his own family. That's how close to this situation Craig has been. So, Craig, we can talk about some of your operations, and I know you've been sending me some of the proof of results. Vets for Child Rescue's proof of results here in the last 24 hours that we've been in communication. But before we get into some details, I'm sure you're aware of the Epstein emails and the connections to other such, let's say, conspiracy theories about child sex trafficking networks and such. But the evidence looks pretty damning that there is at least something very dark and twisted going on with these individuals at that island. So when you see this stuff, getting into your X feed, getting into the consciousness of America, what goes through your mind, and how do you try to even present this to people so that they can really understand how dark this is and how real it is?
Well, Owen, I was working in the intelligence community as a high threat mobile security contractor when I first started learning about all of the deceit. And this was in 2007. They were wheeling a particular presidential candidate out. They were grooming him for president. I'm like, this guy's not who they tell us he is. Like, this dude's a bum. This guy, they call him Bathhouse Barry in Chicago. He's known. He practically lives in the gay bathhouses. And what's going on with this? They're going to make this guy president. They're like bypassing all of the checks and balances. So from then to now, Owen, when I see it playing out now, I'm saying, well, a lot of us have been trying to tell you people that the American populace that we love, what's going on. I mean, you've been screaming it, Owen, a lot of us have been screaming it like they're satanic pedophiles. I've coming from a background as a federal criminal investigator, I always try to go by factual evidence and not use hyperbolic language. Sometimes you got to shock people because they're quite numb. But what I see happening now is the factual evidence of what a lot of us have been researching and finding out bits and pieces over the last couple decades is being demonstrated now. And so really the bottom line, Owen, is what I'm seeing is the evidence of the world being run by very wicked people who will do anything for wealth and power. And sadly, what the fallen ones like for humans to do is do unspeakable things to children. and the people that want wealth and power will do those things for children. What we're seeing is the evidence of that, the weird and strange behavior of the depraved and the amoral who will do those things. And so, for those of us that have been researching it, it's not a big shock. It's still unsettling. It's still repulsive, revolting even. But for a lot of the public, they're like, oh my God, this stuff that you guys, this crazy conspiracy theory topic that you guys have been warning us about is factually demonstrated here. So I think there's a shock of the psychology, the psyche of the American populace going, oh my God, we've all been lied to about a lot of things. Let us get our balance and start to process. So I think we're in early days. Some of us may be impatient because we've been at this for years, and truth is love, right? You tell people, like, if you were my doctor, I would want you to tell me I had a life-threatening illness if I did, and not go, hey, just shine me up with sugar frosting. Hey, Craig, you're awesome. You look great. You're going to do fine. If I need to take corrective action, well, our nation needs to take the world needs to take corrective action against those who are utterly wicked and depraved, who we've allowed take power. And they're betraying all of us. They're doing some very destructive things that we can witness. And yet, who's getting arrested? Who's getting hung by manila rope for treason and atrocities and crimes against humanity? Nobody. Yeah. So that's a frustration I have as a national security whistleblower. I blew the whistle on David Knowlton, an SES level executive from the top of the FBI when I was a federal air marshal manager in Las Vegas. They fired him for gross mismanagement, exactly what I'd reported him for. And when I watched the SES circle the wagons around their corrupt colleague and try to salvage him lest they all get exposed, I saw their desperation in avoiding the sunlight. And that's, what everybody that's been around Dan Bongino and Kash Patel have been saying, I have the plan to purge any federal agency if it's corruption. Our DOJ, our CIA, and our FBI first need to be purged of their deep and obvious corruption before anything at scale is going to be corrected. So I'm disappointed to see that none of that's been done, and that's why I think we're seeing no arrests. And we're a friend of mine, Pentagon type guy, told me that only about 8.5%, Owen, of the files of the Epstein list or investigation files have been released. So 3 million, that's only about 8.5% apparently. So that's just the tip of the iceberg, and people are freaking out. So we have to purge our key agencies of their corruption so they can be part of the process of draining the swamp so that we can recover our beloved USA, recover legitimacy. We have to speak truth. We have to prosecute those that are destroying everything we hold precious and sacred. So that's my overview of what I see and what I think is needed.
Well, and hearing you say that, it kind of gives more credence to my theory, which is they're doing this selective leak, selective redaction, selective timing, because they're trying to twist Trump's arm to get him to do something else. I think strike Iran. So hearing you say that makes me think, yeah, that's even more evidence that that's the case if they're holding more of it back. I mean, God forbid what we could even see if this is only a small fraction of what's in there and what we've seen in these files. But, one thing I know you've run into in the past doing your investigations, the boots on the ground work is, sometimes you reach a certain level and it's like, okay, now's the time to make the move. Now's the time to make the arrest. Now's the time to go shut it down, whatever. And all of a sudden there's a disinterest in certain parties, or there's a no, shut it down. And it's like you get to that point and you're like, oh my gosh, are you in on it?
Yeah, brother, that's exactly right. We run into it continually and repeatedly. We've got a big case right now where there are 200 children being moved through one port, and there's more than one port in a location where we're investigating a trafficking ring. And the key entities there, the key agencies are compromised. They're not correcting it. Some of the key people, the highest ranking people, are complicit. They're participating because there's so much money being made. And so we're having to craft a slam dunk smoking gun case to present to director level officials to move the necessary army against this location where they've been operating with seemingly impunity for years. And so several nations are involved. It's demoralizing, Owen, really, to see a lack of enforcement and a lack of protection. You know, when weak people just help themselves and line their pockets, they leave all the rest of us without, and they leave the children in a horrific situation. When you start studying the spiritual reasons of why these wicked people do this to children, you realize they mean to inflict the most excruciating and prolonged harm on the children that they can. Healthy, sane people like us can't comprehend that. So we just tend to like, go, that's just a little too much. I can't. But if you love the children enough, Owen, if you love them enough, you'll protect them. You love them enough, you'll speak truth. If you love them enough, you'll defend them. And that's why guys like you and I stand up and speak the truth. Do we take a beating? Is it aggravating to have trolls and harassment and all that? Yeah, but our king is greater. And that's the thing that my team has found is we walk under the wing of the Most High God. And not to say that we are righteous, but we are pursuing Yeshua. We are pursuing Jesus Christ with all of our heart and souls. And we are fighting something that's utterly wicked that can't be countered in the natural sense. Yeah, we're doing the kinetic operations. We're doing joint operations with federal, state, and local law enforcement and getting felony arrests and warrants on many, many pedophiles and traffickers and federal law enforcement and church elders and cartel members. So we arrest all kinds. So we're doing the kinetic work, but the causation and some of the protection is spiritual. And that's what I think our populace has been kind of programmed out of in recent generations is I think the true spirituality of who we are and why we're on this planet has been dumbed down for control. You know, if you want to control all the people, you don't want them knowing where their power comes from, where their healing comes from, where you don't want them to have a close relationship with their creator and know what they're capable of, that they're capable of being part of the solution in a big way. So we have to wake up. I don't want to sound like I'm trying to be a preacher. I'm not. I'm just I'm sharing what we're finding in our practical countering of this war on children that these wicked and crazy and depraved people are making. And that it's for them, it's all spiritual motivation. So unless we figure out what makes them tick, you can't counter them. So you got to know your enemy. That's basic warfare. So that's something that the American people are going to have to pull up their big boy pants and learn about the spiritual aspects of it so that we can stand up in unison, lock arms and say no to this filth and mean it and make a safer space for our children. Because right now, what we have is child trafficking being a covert operation run domestically inside the continental United States at industrial scale. That's what we have.
And your boys with the Vets for Child Rescue, I mean, you guys are essentially volunteering. So it's not like when you do this work and you get to the point where it's like, okay, you know, here's what we got for you. Let's make a move. And, you know, they kind of turn their head. They give you the cold shoulder. It's not like you're sitting there like, hey, you know, pounding like we put all this time and effort in. That's not what it's about for your boys. You're there saying, look, we're trying to save children here. You know, it's such an amazing thing when you try to bring these cases up. Obviously, when Biden was in office, it was a huge story. And we had whistleblowers that talked about how they basically would turn these kids over and they would do no background checks to these sponsors. They'd put them in hotel rooms with people that had no background checks. Sometimes they try to do follow-ups. They can't even find them. This is where the hundreds of thousands of missing children came from. And it's just like, these are the stories that it's kind of like, hey, why aren't we pushing pause? Look, I do politics, okay? But sometimes you push pause and you say, this isn't about politics. This isn't about party politics. This isn't about pointing the finger and blaming the party and trying to find leverage on an issue. This is about stopping something evil from infiltrating our country. And so, you know, when I'm watching the mainstream media this week, and I can't even find an hour between all of them, I can't even find an hour to combine between all of them covering these Epstein files, no matter what you think, what the conclusion is. I mean, clearly there is some really dark and twisted stuff going on here. clearly. And then in some of them, they even indicate, it's like, we've seen the things they're willing to communicate over email. And then some of them, they say, oh, no, this isn't for email. Well, what is that? And to see the disinterest from people that are in the cable news that people trust, that are going to bring them the most important stories. Again, it's yet another circumstance for me where it's like, wow, very telling. This is how bad the American media truly is.
Yeah, well, and you've done your research on who own these networks, right? And that's another aspect of global power. If you want to wage fifth generation warfare against the United States, you want to run a campaign of ideological subversion to demoralize and destabilize the United States for easy overthrow, you have to control all the airways. And that's why they've bought up and own all the news media. And big tech censors anything that we post that's very empowering. You could post mild things that, reach a few people, but if you really start breaking ground and awakening people on how they're being undermined with anything powerfully truthful, you get censored. And so our academia, look at the foreign nation states pouring billions into our colleges, and the local schools, they want the children younger and younger, and their drag queen story hour and all this perversion and depravity. You could just see where it's a war of the minds, man. And so it's all about programming. You're either programming yourself towards the truth or away from it. With everything, every song you hear, every piece of entertainment you watch, it's all now engineered for a certain effect, because there's a struggle between power. And I think the real struggle is over information. It's over awareness. Again, it's back to whether or not we the people are allowed to understand who we are and where our power comes from, so that we can live free and empowered. I think there's just a war over that awareness. So everything is kind of a symptom of that war. And that's a war between the two spiritual kingdoms. Once you look at it through that lens, everything makes sense. It's not perplexing anymore. It all falls into place. And it's like that aha breakthrough is like, okay, now I get it. The Bible's not just some fairy tale. It's telling us everything to expect that's playing out, and you can measure it and watch it happen. So we're in fascinating times, but here's the good thing. We do have the power. We do have the authority to rise up and make it better. But even if it doesn't get better, we're not to be worried about it. I've got a scripture here I want to read real quick, if I may, Owen, about this great awakening. This is Matthew 24:6. And you'll hear of wars and rumors of wars. See to it that you're not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. So if you know who your creator is, and you know who spoke everything into existence, even the fallen ones, you know that he gets his way. You can't overpower your own creator. And so he says not to be afraid. And so that should be very encouraging for us. He's going to get his way. And all this stuff is playing out so that we will learn the lesson as eternal spirit beings to comprehend, that's what happens when you go the wrong way. That's what happens when you do it your way, which is foolish and destructive. It leads to sickness and death. Aha, okay, now I get it. So it's not overwhelming when you learn to comprehend it that way. You're like, okay, these things are meant to happen. They have to come to pass. So don't get stressed out about it. Just stay prayed up, stay read up in the word, and link with your network, speak truth and do good. And watch everything fall into place as it has to.
Our guest is Craig Sawyer, founder of the Vets for Child Rescue, producer of the Contraland.
I lost your audio, Owen.
Can you hear me, Craig? Can you hear me? Craig, we still got you. I don't know what issues you're having on your end here. Again, folks, this is Craig Sawyer, founder of Vets for Child Rescue, producer, Contraland movie. Craig, are you able to hear me now? Looks like we're having an audio issue here. Not sure what happened. Craig, that's all right, Craig. If you can't hear me, I was going to ask Craig. He can't hear me now. I was going to ask Craig about a recent bust that he had. We'll let Craig reconnect and see if we can't correct this audio issue here in a second. But folks, if you're not familiar with Craig's work, really amazing stuff. I mean, boots on the ground stuff, documentaries. He's been involved. His family's been involved. So his track record is undoubtable, truly undoubtable as far as actual boots on the ground work is concerned. We'll give it a second here to see if we can't get reconnected with Craig. But that's why I wanted to bring him on. We bring on Liz for kind of the media background and her expertise. You bring Craig on. He's boots on the ground. He's got his intelligence sources. He's in the community. He's got his expertise. And so that's why we brought Craig in today. We're waiting for Craig to get reconnected. Craig, not sure what happened there. Can you hear me now?
I can. Let me just make sure this thing doesn't fall apart here.
You know, it's funny, Craig. Of course, we would have a technical issue considering one of the last times we spoke on the phone, we prayed about the tech demons leaving us alone. So I guess this is their not so subtle reminder that they're still following us around, huh?
It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, usually I don't have a lot of technical issues when we
what did I tell you, Craig? I told you the last time. So the tech bug is getting us. Hey, look, I'm almost out of time. I just wanted to ask you real quickly for a quick wrap up here. You sent me some information about your last bust here in Texas. You know, just kind of give the audience a little clue into how this stuff works and how you're able to put these guys behind bars.
Yeah, man. Well, we coordinate with district attorneys who will prosecute because George Soros funds the campaigns of district attorneys in all the major cities with the agreement that they won't prosecute crimes against children. So that's a gross miscarriage of justice and glaring conflict of interest, yet it's still allowed. So we need to fix that, folks. So we start with a DA who will prosecute, and then we build a relationship, and then we reverse engineer an operation where we find the local law enforcement that we want to work with there in that county or district, and we invite our federal law enforcement allies. So we end up with federal, state, and local law enforcement, up to 9 agencies at a time, usually only 2, 3, 4, 5 agencies. And we run sting operations there. So we do long-term investigations on big trafficking rings and bigger players, but in the sting operations, you don't know who you're going to get. So we've gotten every kind of predator, from your local pervert to cartel members who are there to abduct children, to traffic them, and law enforcement. And we've caught everybody. So we prosecute them all with 100% conviction rate. So we don't play favorites, no special favors, no get out of jail free card with us. So I think that's why we upset a lot of people, because a lot of things are rigged, and you're not supposed to arrest the mayor's brother or the sheriff's cousin or something. But we're like, sorry, you're a predator coming to harm children. The children are worthy of protection. So we run those sting operations. So we'll run that for a period of time, and all the predators that come for the children, we arrest. All the ones that incriminate themselves in that operation, but don't come to actually abduct or rape the child, but have committed the elements of the crime, they're arrested later on warrants. So this last operation, we got 3 felony arrests on site and 24 more warrants cut. So they're usually pretty productive operations. So that's what we try to do to keep that going, so that no matter what a criminal network has rigged, we can go in there and arrest them anyway, because we don't operate within the norms, within the normal guardrails. So we catch people that are repeat offenders that people don't think are ever going to get caught. So that's part of the beauty of that. And we're an NGO, not an NGO, but nonprofit org. We are not law enforcement. We've been law enforcement, but we don't have to Mirandize. So we can question them to whatever degree we want to, until we end our questioning and turn them over to law enforcement for cuffing. So, you know, it's a privilege to take those predators off the streets and make it safer for children in those towns.
Craig Sawyer, guys, give him a follow on X at Real Craig Sawyer, Craig Sawman Sawyer. We got it right there on the screen. Again, founder of Vets for Child Rescue, a great organization doing this work. Producer Contraland Movie. If you want to see how a lot of this stuff goes down, you can watch it in that film that he produced. And, you know, Craig and his team, they're the boys you don't see coming, you don't hear coming until they got you. And then they don't really brag about it either, because they're just there to do the work. That's the type of men they are. Craig, we're gonna have to reunite here. It looks like the tech demons have transferred from the portal from me to you. We had the sound issue. You were getting a little glitchy here on us now, so that's all right. We'll take care of those. But for folks that don't know about Craig, really, his team and himself are about as real as it gets, and we really appreciate his time today. Craig, keep wrapping them up, keep putting them behind bars, and we'll keep praying for you, brother.
Thank you, Owen. It's a privilege. God bless.
Thank you, brother. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. All right, guys. We may have to take some bonus time today. I've got some news we still need to cover. Obviously, we've got some super chats. We're kind of light on the super chats today. I'm okay with that because we got more important news to cover right now. So let's go ahead and start picking it up and putting it down on the news front, whatever we have left. Oh, again, I don't know how people can possibly say this or make this whole Epstein thing political, but this is the wife of Stephen Miller. She's got her podcast. The Epstein files is a Democrat hoax perpetuated on the American people. Why didn't Bill Clinton, Reid Hoffman, or Bill Gates push for Epstein's arrest or prosecutions of serious wrongdoings by their friends during the Obama or Biden years? In President Trump's first term, Jeffrey Epstein was arrested and jailed. In his second, he released the files. It's curious why these Democrats didn't want justice before. Now, listen, this is not the OWN that they think it is. Because basically what you're saying here is that the Trump administration has produced the exact same amount of arrests as the Biden administration. That's what you're saying. And that's the truth. So until that number changes, this really means nothing. You can talk about attitude and presentation as much as you want. Until the arrest number changes, this is worthless. This is worthless. And you can talk about whataboutism, and that's fine. And you can talk about double standards, and it's true. But until that arrest number changes, all you're really saying is that we've arrested the exact same amount of people as the Obama and Biden administration did. And that's the truth. Now, as far as the Epstein situation, I'm not so sure that's the big victory that they think it is either. Now, I'm always a results person, and the results are true. Epstein did get arrested, and they did release the files, or at least some of them with redactions. But if you review this, what you find out is that the only reason why Epstein ended up getting arrested, Trump's former administration under Alex Acosta was part of the Epstein sweetheart deal. So Trump brought in the guy that gave Epstein the sweetheart deal. The only reason that Epstein got rearrested is because the deal was so outrageous and they violated victims' rights that he had to be rearrested. But instead of sending him to Florida where the case was, for some reason they transferred him to New York, and there he was killed, or killed himself, if you believe that. So I'm not even so sure that is the OWN, or that is the proud moment that they think it is. Now, as far as the files are concerned, they were fighting these files for months. The only reason these files got passed is because of Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna and bipartisan effort to get them passed. That's not a Trump thing. Now, Trump ultimately signed the act. He had to. But then they didn't release them for over a month. And now they're releasing them, and I don't think it has anything to do with the victims. I don't think it has anything to do with Epstein. I think it has everything to do with getting Trump to strike Iran. And I think I'll end up being proven positive on that as more evidence emerges, including what we just found out from our last guest. So what part of this is a hoax is what I would like to know. If you want to talk about a double standard, and if you want to talk about a change of attitude, fine. What part of this is a hoax? That's what I'd like to hear. What part of this is a hoax? And if you're going to sit here and say, oh, but the Democrats, well, tell me, how many Epstein clients did the Democrats arrest? 0? Cool. So the same number as the Trump administration? Gotcha. So this is not really the OWN that they think it is. It's really not. And yet there they are, propping it up like it is. I'm going to skip some of this other Epstein stuff for now, and we'll revisit it tomorrow. I will show you this one since I mentioned it yesterday. This is one of the cases I'd mentioned yesterday, was Dan Bilzerian, and I didn't want to say his name or bring him into this because it was totally illegitimate. So this picture of Bilzerian and Post Malone, who I think are probably not into this stuff. In fact, I would say we know they aren't into this stuff. But for whatever reason, they want to frame it like they are. They throw this random image in the files. Now, tell me why. Why did they throw this random image in the files? Well, apparently somebody shared this. I guess somebody saw this on the social media and shared it in their emails. So this is the image here. Dan posted this to his social media. He was partying with Post Malone and two fully grown women, fully of age women. And for whatever reason, they took it and they redacted it to make it look like Dan Bilzerian and Post Malone were doing something wrong when they clearly weren't. So what is that subversion? Who decided to do that and try to frame these two innocent men as if they did something wrong? If I was Dan Bilzerian and Post Malone, I would sue the FBI. I would sue the FBI. Why did you redact the women out of this image and not them? Tell me, why did you redact the women and not them? Because you wanted to make them look bad. If I'm Dan Bilzerian, if I'm Post Malone, and maybe I send them that suggestion in a message. How about a little? Maybe I send them a message in an idea. Yeah, it's like that. I would sue them. I would sue them for, I don't even know what, defamation? I'd sue them for something. They know exactly what they tried to do. So that's one of the examples I was talking about yesterday, where it looks like they're trying to frame people. And Bilzerian, since he did respond, I figured I'll bring that out onto the show today, since he did respond to that. All right, we got some other Epstein stuff here. Like I said, I think I'm just going to leave this for tomorrow because we're going to come back and do the same thing tomorrow, I'm sure. But this is the proper response. Lithuania launches human trafficking probe related to the Epstein files. Lithuanian prosecutors said on Tuesday they were launching an investigation into potential human trafficking after the U.S. release of documents related to late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, which included references to prominent Lithuanians. An objective and thorough investigation of the circumstances of doubtful legality as well as international legal cooperation is only possible if a pretrial investigation is launched, Lithuania's Prosecutor General's office said in a statement. Tell me why every country on earth isn't doing this. Tell me why the U.S. government isn't doing this. Isn't it obvious? They're covering it up. Folks, come on. This isn't rocket science, all right? This isn't rocket science. If these files were about justice, if releasing these files was about justice, if releasing these files was about making it right by the victims and arresting the predators and the perverts and everything else involved in between, then this is exactly what they would be doing. This has nothing to do with justice. This has nothing to do with the victims. I remain positive that this is a public blackmail campaign and that Trump might not even have control over his own DOJ that is slowly releasing this stuff out with timeliness and selective redactions because they want him to bomb Iran. That's what I believe is going on. And think about it. I'm sure Epstein was working with multiple intelligence agencies and at one point was basically his own agency. But yes, we know he worked with Mossad, and we know how Israel operates. And this is it. This is how Israel controls our foreign policy. This is how Israel bends our arm of Congress and the White House to do their bidding. And this is exactly what it is. They want Trump to bomb Iran. He's not doing it, so they're releasing the files, and they're crashing the market. Tell me why the U.S. government hasn't launched a probe. I just told you why. Because it's not about justice. And it never was. And now Trump is complaining. Now Trump is complaining about the Clintons being called in for testimony. You can't make this up. I hate to see it. Trump says it's a shame Republicans are making the Clintons testify before Congress. You still think this is about justice? You still think this is about exposing the network, folks? Trump doesn't even want the Clintons to testify. Trump. That's a pretty good one. Trump is now defending the Clintons. Trump is now trying to bail out the Clintons. Trump is now running defense saying, please don't bring in the Clintons for questioning. Maybe Trump's scared. Maybe Trump's afraid that Bill might say something about him. So we went from Hillary would be in jail to, oh, don't question the Clintons. Crazy. Bitcoin crypto route erases nearly $500 billion in a week. Almost $500 billion has been wiped off cryptocurrencies in less than a week as a sell-off led by Bitcoin accelerated. Market crash, cryptocurrency crash. I'm telling you, folks, it's all connected. It's all trying to twist Trump's arm to strike Iran. And to his credit, he hasn't done it yet. So that's what's going on in my eyes, and I think I'll continue to be proven right with this theory as time goes on. But yesterday, Trump signed a $1.2 trillion government spending package, which I find ironic. He signs it with the America is back hat. Oh, yeah, America's back as you're sending us further into debt, more involved in the Middle East, and you're signing a $1.2 trillion spending bill with tens of billions for Israel, and they'll say, oh, no, Owen, they've only given $9 billion to Israel. No. The foreign aid that we sent to Egypt and Jordan and Lebanon and the rest of them, that's payments for Israel. That's payments to keep those countries off of Israel and to let those countries allow Israel to do whatever the hell it wants in the Middle East. Those are gang payments for Israel. So all of that foreign aid is for Israel. Okay? Don't be so naive. So that's Trump. America is back. Trump sits here and signs a $1.2 trillion spending bill with tens of billions of foreign aid, tens of billions of welfare, tens of billions for diversity, equity, and inclusion, tens of billions for abortions. That's Trump's America is back. He's signing the bill. Gavin Newsom spent $50,000 of donor money at his own wine business, according to filings. Nice, Gavin. They're just all so corrupt, man. They're just all such corrupt demons. I just can't. It's just these politicians, man. We got to have them. We got to get them off our back. We got to get these political demons off our back, folks. Did you hear about this in Ohio? Grand jury indicts owners of real estate investment group, closing and title company employees in more than $50 million in bank fraud conspiracy. So, we're all about fraud, right? We're all talking about fraud. Fraud. But why not this fraud? Why didn't anybody hear about this fraud? Why didn't this fraud go viral? Feds charged Cincinnati Real Estate Investment Group after $50 million bank fraud scheme. Let's see here from the local Cincinnati News. A federal grand jury indicted 2 Israeli real estate investment entrepreneurs. And there it is. That's why you didn't hear about it. That's why no big stories, no viral moments, no big outrage. They're Israelis. Come on, guys. I thought it was all about fraud. I thought we all cared about exposing fraud and shutting down fraud and arresting fraudsters. How many of those people reported on this? Why? I bet if they were Somali, they would have reported on it. Oh, yeah. If it was a Somali in Minnesota, you'd hear all about it. But not the Israeli investment real estate fraud. No. And how long till Trump pardons them and sends them on their merry way? A lot of talk about what's happening in Spain right now. Elon Musk is talking a lot about this. He calls him Dirty Sanchez. It's pretty funny. Pavel Durov weighing in. Today, Telegram notified its users in Spain with this alert. Pedro Sanchez's government is pushing dangerous new regulations that threaten your internet freedoms. announced just yesterday these measures could turn Spain into a surveillance state under the guise of protection. Here's why they're a red flag for free speech and privacy. And it goes on here to talk about it. Free speech under attack everywhere, folks. We're going to have more on this tomorrow. But it's under attack everywhere. We'll hold that over for tomorrow. Let's see what else we have here. Oh, Mitch McConnell. Not good here for Mitch McConnell. Hospitalized after experiencing flu-like symptoms. I guess he's got what's going around. First of all, it's outrageous that this man is in Congress. He might not be long for this world. It is outrageous that this man is in Congress. He can't even think or walk or talk, and somehow he has a Senate vote. It's outrageous. All right, guys, how about this? Let's do a quick Bongino check-in. This is actually hilarious, guys. Quick Bongino check-in. How are things going over at the Bongino show?
You're not going to hear this from the doomers. Everything sucks. Oh, it sucks. All they do is tell you what didn't happen. I'll tell you what didn't happen. You didn't do shit. That's what didn't happen. You sat on your fat ass complaining all the time on Twitter, watching tentacle porn in your room, you loser, eating Twinkies and ding-dongs.
What?
You didn't do shit.
What did you say?
I didn't see you volunteering while he was racking up these W's. Oh, this didn't happen. Well, a lot of things didn't happen that are going to happen. And some things that don't happen because they can happen.
Oh.
But you didn't know that.
Oh. So some things aren't going to happen because they can't happen, but you didn't know that. And he's screaming and yelling at his audience. Folks, I'm telling you, I watched the damn Bongino show for years. This is a different damn Bongino. In fact, that face that he's making right there, that face right there, I've never seen that face in the history of the Bongino show. Never. I've never seen that face. I don't know how to describe that face. Defeated, embarrassed, I don't know. So that's his new show, attacking his audience and fluffing Trump. That's his new show. Now, here's what's funny. He says that nobody else tried to help. Well, at least one person disagrees. He says, the path forward. I did volunteer. I told FBI Cash personally I would run the counterintelligence unit or a special task force to go hunt down pedophiles. I can muster entire teams of former military to get the job done. What did we hear? Crickets. Go F yourself. Those doomers you talk about are calling out the fact that no one is talking about who ran the Epstein op. And by the way, we just had a guest on that can do the same thing. And they don't want his business either. They don't want to deal with him either. So a lot of chatter. Not much results. Spencer Pratt continues to make headlines running for mayor of L.A. He just officially took the oath or whatever to run. Here's what he said afterwards.
If elected, he'll enlist the IRS to audit the city government.
Also, as mayor, I have a good relationship with the IRS criminal investigation team. First week, I'm bringing them in. Here's all the books. Open this up. Let's see all the corruption.
If elected.
Yeah, that's what we need. That's what we need from the Trump administration. And that's what they said they were going to do. And then they shut it down and didn't do it. No arrests. And they keep spending trillions of dollars. I think Spencer Pratt will actually do it. I think Spencer Pratt is actually going to do it. Let's hope he wins. So a development in the Charlie Kirk assassination as the alleged killer is in court today. Now, first, let's play this clip of what went down.
You're certainly not a DNA. You mentioned the DNA evidence. You're certainly not a DNA expert. Is that correct?
I'm not, no.
And are you aware that the DNA evidence that was seized from the scene consisted of a mixture of at least 5 different individuals?
I'm not a DNA expert, so.
So you know enough to say what helps him, but you're not going to answer whether or not there were 5 individuals mixed into that DNA.
I'm not aware of that, no.
Okay. And you're certainly not qualified to interpret complex DNA mixtures, are you?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
So at least 5 DNA samples on the gun. At least 5. So not so convincing. And you know what's funny? because you see this a lot of times on social media. People will share a clip because they think it supports their theory or their notion or whatever it is they're pushing for. So a lot of people are sharing that clip saying, see, it proves Tyler Robinson did it. Actually, it doesn't prove anything. It proves actually there is very much reasonable doubt that he did it. So just keep an eye out for that. Now, Candace Owens, however, is taking a victory lap here. People who watch my show knew this months ago. They found 5 sets of prints on the gun. Every piece of the official story is ridiculous. So you know that I've kind of waded away from this after the big grandiose funeral show. We went in heavy in the beginning. I've stated my piece. You know where I stand. And then every once in a while, when there's an actual news development, I bring the news to you. But I did say this because I don't get in. Candace is really going heavy on this, and I'd say I think she's probably done the most work as far as investigative journalism. And people can say it's bad or it's good, but I think she's done the most work and dedicated the most time and certainly her show to it. And it just seems to me like every time I check in, she ends up getting proven right. And I know what it's like when you really lean into something like that and people start throwing a lot of stuff at you. And you know what? Every once in a while, you might slip on a banana peel. Every once in a while, you might pick up a rotten tomato. So aside from maybe those moments, though, it seems like most of the important stuff that Candace has reported has ended up becoming true. And there's another one. Kind of a big piece of evidence there. But I find it funny. They're sharing that. And they're saying, oh, look, it proves Tyler did it. I'm saying, what? It says it actually proves reasonable doubt. 5 fingerprints, at least 5 sets of DNA. I'm not sure what you think that proves. Certainly proves, to me at least, he wasn't working alone. No lone gunman here. So, interesting. Very interesting. Dude, I got this clip. I'm just going to mention it here. But, the movie Eyes Wide Shut apparently was meant to be about pedophilia. And then they changed the whole script and killed Stanley Kubrick, or he died. Anyway, I had a clip of a cameraman explaining it all, how they shot one thing with Stanley and it was like, a pedophile cult. And then Stanley died, and they basically re-scripted and rewrote the whole thing, and it was just, kind of about a mysterious little orgy thing. But we're going to move through that. We don't really have the time. All right, one last thing here. We're going to go to the super chats here in a minute. One last thing, a little humor for us at the end of the show. And did we see a Jerry Seinfeld pop up in the files? Huh? Oh boy. Anyway. This was one of the last moments with Jerry Seinfeld and Norm Macdonald, the great Norm Macdonald. This is funny.
How much do you make doing this?
0. Don't make it sense.
Come on. You got to get something.
Don't make it funny. I think these fellows do over here. Yes.
No comedian shows up anywhere for nothing.
Gentile. now,
how much do you make doing this?
0. Don't make it sense.
Come on. You got to get something.
Don't make it funny. I think these fellows do over here. Yes.
No comedian shows up anywhere for nothing.
Gentile.
That's funny stuff. That's funny stuff. Norm Macdonald, one of the all-timers, right? No doubt about it. One of the all-timers there. All right, guys, before we go to your super chats, one more item of business to take care of. I've been telling you a lot about red light therapy lately, and for good reason, folks. I'm becoming obsessed with this stuff. I would like to have a red light therapy room, to be quite honest, but we're slowly but surely building. I really like my red light therapy wrap. I can put it around my legs, my back, my chest, my waist, whatever. It's really convenient. I do have a red light panel. I like to stand in front of it at night when I'm brushing my teeth. It's kind of a good way to do it. You brush your teeth, you stand in front of it, you wake up. It's got so much science. If you go to myredlight.com, you can learn all about the science, and it is very convincing. We're talking about multiple scientific studies, evidence that suggests just how powerful red light therapy can be. myredlight.com. You got to see all the different options that they have for you. So many different options. Now, listen to this. When you go to myredlight.com, you'll see they got the hat, they got the face mask, they got the knee wraps, they got the general wraps, they've got a bunch of different panels, then they got the combos. So here's the deal. Here's the deal right here. If you want to get a single item from myredlight.com, face mask, hat, wrap, whatever, a single panel, coupon code OWEN25 will get you 25% off. Listen closely. 25% off, coupon code OWEN25. OWEN30 off the bundles. You heard that right. OWEN30 off the bundles. Okay? Now, folks, you know me. I'm obsessed with health. I'm obsessed now with mogging. I told you we're going to be triggering. We're going to be mogging. This is part of my process now. Reduced inflammation, support pain, boost cellular energy, enhance brain function, strengthen immunity, all of this stuff. You go to myredlight.com. You'll see all of the different studies, and you'll be convinced. And when you do want to make a purchase, folks, make sure you use coupon code OWEN25 for a single item, coupon code OWEN30 for one of the package items. Red light therapy becoming a normal part of my daily routine. I'm slowly becoming obsessed with it, especially in the winter months when I can't get any sun. To me, it's kind of like a nice replacement if you do like sitting as much in the sun as you can in the summer, but there's no sun right now in Texas. I go to my red light panel to make up for that. myredlight.com. Look it up for yourself. Look up the studies for yourself, and then make sure you use those coupon codes when you're ready to make the purchase. All right. All the business taken care of for today. So let's do our super chats before we sign off for the day, as we do at the end of every show. Big shout out to everybody who watches us on YouTube, guys. Please give us a follow on YouTube. And remember, this is just how the show works. We do read all of the super chats. So if you do want to have your chat read on the show, the super chat is the way to do it. So make sure you go to the Owen Report on YouTube. Give us a follow. Give us a subscribe there. Give us a like on the video. That's how we build this channel and this show, so that we can do even more in the future. That's the goal. All right. Here we go. Bob Bickerstaff starts us off. It all makes sense now. Today on his podcast, Bongino named his good friends in the media, and he started with Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin. Is that true? What happened? Now, we always thought Bongino was like one of us, at least to a certain degree, even though he did say his number one cause in life is to save Israel. His words. But boy, we didn't know it was this bad. Oh my gosh. What happened? Seriously, what happened? Very weird. Charlie Daniels, simple man style. Are you talking about my hair? These freaks are all talking about midterms. I'm beyond disgusted. What the F happened to these people? Why are they always frauds? Well, unfortunately, that's the world of politics and the world of media, my friend. And you know what? That's why, for me, I say, hey, I don't mind the criticism. You can bring criticism. You can bring doubt here. I think it's healthy. You should be critical of the people whose opinions you listen to and whose news coverage you watch. And you should always be able to hold them to account, and they should never be afraid of that. So that's why I welcome it to the show. That's why I like it even. We have to have these open conversations. You're never going to get blocked by Owen Schroyer. Never. You're never going to get blocked. It's never going to happen. And to the people that do block, it's because they're scared or they have something to hide. Captain Hard, so worried about his image, not realizing if he went after everyone in the files, it would make his image look like a hero. I know who you're talking about. You're talking about Trump. So well said. Yeah, here's the guy with the biggest ego, thinks everything is about him. It's like, dude, if you shut down these pedophile networks, if you arrested all of these Epstein clients and exposed all the crap that was going on the island, you'd be the legend. You'd be the legend of all time. Instead, you're just obsessed with ballrooms and hanging out with the elite and boosting the stock market and all this crap and telling us to shut up, the real fighters. It's really strange. Again, it's like, what happened? What happened? Oh, look at this. We got a new clever one in the chat today. Owen's housemaid. Trump is scamming as much as he can before his end. Well, it certainly feels that way, not just about Trump, but about all of the billionaire elite class, quite frankly. That's what it feels like this entire administration is about now. Capo Mercs, I have a bad feeling about the Super Bowl, potential false flags incoming. You know, from my experience, it's always the events we anticipate the most that where nothing happens. But I think, I don't think you're alone. I don't think you're alone in that worry. You know who's not in the Epstein files? James Fishback. Well, that's true. Politics, government officials better wake up because a revolution is slowly building and eventually people are going to start making citizens arrests. Isn't that a Q thing too, by the way? I think that's a Q thing. Alex Jones loves the trans movement. He is inversion. I don't know what that means exactly. Guys, can we do a spell check, grammar check before you send these chats in? It would really help us all. All right. It would really help us all. I think we got the first part, though. Welcome to Electric Boogaloo. Epstein is still alive, controlling everything. You know, I used to not believe that. I'm slowly but surely, I'm starting to think he's still alive. I don't know about controlling anything. But I'm starting to think he might still be around. I'm starting to think they might have snuck him out. Alex McCarthy. Notice Trump and the administration began leaning into and posting all the Q nods after the Epstein Files Act passed and leading up to release, but never outright tied them together. Brilliant PR political move. You know, that is true. You wonder why. And now, I'm not sure how much Trump has to do with that, to be honest. I think that he might have a final say or he might have a final green light, but he might not even be fully aware of what he's doing, and it could be somebody else doing it. So it's like, okay, they're all questioning us as we're showing that our loyalty is to, foreign interest and special interests and not the American people. So how do we subvert this? Oh, let's pretend like it's all part of Q now. Maybe that's what's going on. And still, because things move so fast. They move so fast, and you kind of have to really, in media sometimes, have an attitude of never look back. But, I mean, remember that windmill photo? I mean, the weirdness of that was never explained. So an interesting observation from Alex McCarthy today. Karma and kerosene. Just watch Trump Deputy AG Blanche say there was no evidence of abuse in the files and they had no plans to prosecute anyone. Trump has lost me. Well, I think Trump, to me, it's like the DOJ isn't even working for Trump. Now, why he doesn't fire them, I don't know. I don't know how they haven't been fired at this point. I don't know how Bondi and Blanche are still around at this point. What a disaster it's been. And maybe he keeps them around because they're such a disaster and he can just blame them for everything. But the commentary from Blanche in the aftermath of all of this has been beyond confusing and disgusting. Don't forget, Megyn Kelly told Candace Owens she wants her to keep asking questions about Charlie Kirk. Well, Megyn does seem to just like to go where the wind blows. She's pretty light. She's a small gal. So the wind kind of blows her wherever she ends up. So I'm not sure if you would call her a grifter or a drifter, or maybe she's just getting better now that she's independent. But yeah, we see that. Earbud recommendations, please. You know what? Should I do a free plug? Here's what I do. Here's what I did. I mean, let me see if I can even find these. I'm not going to say, I'm not going to do a free plug for somebody, but what I do is, I do like the wireless headphones. I don't like being tethered to, my phone, my iPod, whatever. There are wireless headphones that they basically just still have the wire, and so that way the Bluetooth is not just right in your skull, right in your ear. So it's something like I'm trying to find the exact same ones that I have. I don't know if I can. I don't want to spend a bunch of time on this. But it's something like it's something like this that I wear, and you can see it when I do my videos at the gym. Here, let me put this up the screen for you. So I do not wear this brand. I do not wear Beats. I think Beats are like the worst headphones out there, the most overpriced bad tech out there. But this is what mine look like. You can see them when I shoot the videos at the gym. So it's wireless, but the Bluetooth receiver is down here. So the Bluetooth receiver is like over here around your collarbone or your shoulder or your neck. And it's not in your skull, embedded in your skull in the actual earbud. So that's what I use. So it's like, lesser of two evils type thing, but at least it's not reading your brain waves and pummeling your brain in your skull. So that's what I do. It's kind of the in between. So you're still wireless, but you're not destroying you're not blasting your brain. Sham. Thank you for the super sticker. Disavow Owen Schroyer's wife's boyfriend. There's whatever is going on with all these characters in the chat. It is entertaining. Ken Rose with a thumbs up. Thank you, Ken. DZ300, MAGA cult members, you support a president that won't prosecute people that have eaten and tortured babies. Let that sink in. Are you proud to support this? I think, look, you're already starting to see them crash out because it's kind of undeniable. But as I've described before, they don't know what else to do, folks. They don't know what else to do. They're not professionals in the media. They don't know how to cover news. They don't even know how to consume and retain information when it comes to politics and current events. They have no comprehension of how the world really works or American politics. All they know is suck Trump. That's all they know is I just suck off Trump. I fluff Trump. I do backflips for Trump. That's all they know. They built their entire persona, their entire brand, their entire online personality. It's literally nothing but Trump. They don't know anything else. So I anticipate their crash out will continue as things don't go the way we had hoped they would. Transhumanism is the key pin to unlocking the reality of the satanic agenda. All the movies show us. All queens are clearly men. Look back. Oh, you're talking about queens literally are transgender men. Certainly a lot of first ladies that look that way. From Scotty Jesso. Cornelius Western Most. I've been tuning in for 10 years now, and in my opinion, you're the best news commentator in the arena, period. As far as I'm concerned, you already rival Alex and Rush. Keep up the great work, brother. Thank you. That means a lot. I really appreciate that. And, there's no denying it. Alex was a big inspiration of mine. Rush Limbaugh, one of my biggest inspirations. A lot of the studio is an homage to Rush. One thing, too, is, Michael Savage has always been a big inspiration to me as well. And it's interesting. So many of the things that he said also are coming true. A lot of the things that he used to talk about coming true as well. Thank you for that. Jennifer K. They decide what they're going to do with you at a young age. They will either send you to the P industry, the adult industry, or the island, or they'll send you to the lab, or they'll send you to your grave. This broke me yesterday when you said this. Well, that's it. I forget how I said it yesterday. I remember the part where I said that, but that's exactly what it is. They bring you in, and then they decide. And that was from the email where they talked about, okay, we're going to send this one to, we're going to send this one to the adult film industry. So it's like, yeah, we'll either send you to the island if we want to keep you for ourselves. We'll send you to the industry if we want you to go do that. If you're not looking like you're going to behave, you're done. Or we'll send you to the lab and you'll be a baby maker or a test subject. It's kind of dark stuff. But hey, no reason to prosecute. Shut up. Stop talking about it. Owen Schroyer's wifey. Tech demons are real. They scare me. Oh, believe me. Believe me. Gregory Wright. Owen, have Mark Dice come on the show. This place is in need of a very thorough MAGA power washing. Mark Dice. The great Mark Dice. Haven't talked to Mark in a while. Sent me a book. I read his books when I was in prison. Great books, Mark Dice. I'd love to talk to Mark. I'd love to catch up to Mark. I'm sure he's keeping it real. He always keeps it real. Jordan Paul, thanks, Owen, for compassion on child exploitation. Absolutely, brother. No other way to go. Not here. Not here. Employee Strong for Life. Very information, action-oriented guests today. Thank you. Thank you. I will tell you, we've scheduled some other guests, little more kind of cultural, up-and-coming guests. We're just kind of branching out a little bit. And there's a reason I do that. Because, I normally don't do guests. But right now, as there's this alignment, I want people to know that there's still people out there that are good. Okay? There's still people out there that are good. And you know what? I'll just say it like this, because this is how I view it. You don't have to view it this way. But you know what? If they're willing to come on my show, then they're probably going to be on the right side of issues. Doesn't mean we agree on everything. But it means they're not controlled and they're willing to talk to anybody. So, take that as it is, but that's kind of going to be something you might be seeing more of a couple times here in the near future. Free Owenly fans from the tunnels. Player hate one. Hate to say it, brother, but a new DA isn't going to save the day. The people have to take it into their hands. This is children. Christians no more. Turn the other cheek. We crusade. Well, but there's no doubt the Soros DAs are a major problem, and they need to be gotten rid of. Soros in general needs to be booted from the country. Not one anti-Semite in the Epstein files. A lot of goyim. A lot of goyim overload. It's goyim abundance. How many goyim are actually in there? There's not as many goyim, right? Not too many goyim in there. Oh, geez. Well, I have a feeling there's going to be some war in the Middle East very soon, Tay-Tay. Employee Strong for Life. Bay Area peeps, I need to do something. If you feel the same and want redactions available, I'll be at the Tesla location, Santana Road, this Saturday from the 7th, 1 to 3 p.m. Hit me up and I'll make you a sign. That's an aggressive thing to post in the super chat. I read the super chats, so you wanted me to say it. I really don't like putting that out there. But okay, you got your super chat in. So there you go. Bay Area peeps. Check it out if you're in the Bay Area. Are you going to be going to the Super Bowl too with your signs? Honestly, I wouldn't recommend it. They have Super Bowls, so the security at the Super Bowl is so outrageous. You can't even get within a mile of the stadium. Now, there's still places where you can go and do protests and there's foot traffic, but it's just it's crazy, man. It's crazy. So there you go. If you're in the Bay Area, read the super chat. Tesla location, Santana Road this Saturday, 7th from 1 to 3 p.m. Hey, good luck. Stay safe. Stay smart. 1 of 1K, not trying to confuse you with any of my questions in previous shows. Love you. Thanks for making politics easier to understand. Well, no, the confusion isn't on your part. It's because I don't read the super chats till the end of the transmission. And so I understand that sometimes people say something and it's in response to something I said at, say, 4 o'clock. But then, I don't do the super chats till 5:30. So that's all it is. So sometimes I just kind of have to try to remember what I said to make sense of the context. Now, if you're talking about the spelling errors and the bad grammar and everything, well, that's a different story. We're going to clean that up, though. Mog all you want, babe. I'm here for it. All right, we got more for you. We got plenty more coming. It's the year of the Mog. Don't worry. We're just getting started. Owen Schroyer's wife's boyfriend. Okay, yeah. All right. When you do the STL show, can locals show up? You know, I don't really know how comfortable I feel about public appearances, and that's kind of a public appearance right now. You can understand. But most of the show is going to be locals. It's going to be people that I grew up with, neighbors, childhood friends, grade school friends, high school friends, college friends when I do the homecoming show. So it'll mostly be locals. But I don't know about, a public type thing. We could do something like that. We can consider something like that. But it's just to do that right is such a big commitment. And it's like, I got to get security, and it's just like a huge ordeal. And I mean, it's basically a one-man show here, guys. And the show is the most important thing to me. So what's the deal with Alex these days? Is he just running out of steam with old age? Guys, I don't know. I don't watch the show. I have no idea what goes on over there. So I can't answer the question. Obviously, I stated my piece. There's been some stuff in the aftermath. I'm not involved. All right. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on. And I'd ask you because I don't know. I need a Patriot nurse to patch me up. It's just a few TDS skull fractures, nothing serious. What are you, bashing your head on the desk when Trump tells you to shut up about the Epstein files? Don't do that. Some health advice for you. Since when did we get a maid? Since you stopped cleaning the house, woman. Scotty Gesso. This is for spitting my crazy truth, brother. I wish I was wrong. I'm proof he doesn't block. They hate pure truth. I will never block. You will never get blocked by Owen Schroyer. We will read your super chats. We don't even have moderators in the chat. Nothing. We're total free speech here. And we fear nothing. We have nothing to fear. We have nothing to hide. 13 Anjo Wizard. Alex Junes, drunk, shirtless, crying, gooning right now. Oh, I thought you said he was doing that on the show today. Well, it wouldn't surprise me. It would go viral. So, anything for the vids. Pick Wiki. Thank you for the super chat. Owen Schroyer's boyfriend back. Try the show without a shirt. Could help with stress. Well, I don't know if it would impact my stress. Maybe some people in the audience. It could go either way, though. Free plug, DeWalt earphones superior to Apple. All right, free plug. Tell DeWalt to give me a call. Teat. Teat 8836. All right, Teat. Thanks for that. PickWiki. I think they are using some advanced MK Ultra program to reprogram the good guys for their evil agenda. How can they all change so much? Sabrina Wallace has taught me a lot. I think I've heard that name a couple times recently. I can't say I'm familiar with her work. It is strange, but I don't think it's like that. Well, there's a level of it. I think that there's a level of what you're saying and reality, but I think it's just politics, guys. It's just people buy into the fake left-right paradigm. People go all in for their favorite politicians, and they just get lost in the sauce. It's probably more extreme now just because of the cult of personality that is Trump and the momentum behind MAGA. But I think it's just politics is normal for most of it. But yeah, for people on the right, the MAGA cult is definitely the most extreme we've seen as far as the weirdness and the change of temperature is concerned. Jordan Walker, no one is circumcised on Stolten foreskin, Owen. Yeah, well, Billie Eilish is she's going to have some fun. There's a lawsuit now. Disavow them all. I was here first. Were you? Mr. Daniel Powellcheck, Goyams Unite. Won't let me write it out. Really? You can't write Goyam? So it is like the N-word now. All right, Goys. No, it's Goyam. All right, Goy is singular. Goyam is plural. So we can't even say it now. Now this is more discrimination against the Goyam. The Goyam discriminated against again. We can't even use our own word. Big D. Remember when I said they breed babies for their disposal? Oh, yeah. And it was in the Epstein files, brother. Yes, sir. We read that one today. Paul Moriana. I was at your protest at the New York Times building in the InfoWars trucks. New York Times lies was the chant. Mamdani, Epstein's son, is a loser. Snow everywhere. I don't really buy that about Mamdani. I really don't care. Go ahead and attack Mamdani as much as you want. I don't necessarily buy that. Now, here's what I find funny. Because you know me, I'm all about logical consistency. If logic can't be applied universally, it's not logic, it's propaganda. And I think it's hilarious watching all the Trump sycophants attack Mamdani. Oh, Mamdani. And I think they're using an AI picture and claiming he's Epstein's son. I think that's where you're getting that. Or they're using other pictures claiming Mamdani is with Epstein and all this other stuff. Whatever. Here's what I find funny. How are all of these big Trump sycophants, how is the Trump cult going to sit here and go, oh, Mamdani, Epstein, Mamdani, Epstein? First of all, Trump Epstein. Second of all, Trump brings Mamdani to the White House and is nicer to Mamdani than he is Thomas Massie. So how are you going to rip Mamdani Epstein and not rip Trump Epstein? How are you going to rip Mamdani but then give Trump a pass for being nicer to Mamdani than he is to Rand Paul or to Thomas Massie? You guys have been propagandized. Speaking of Seinfeld, my son loves watching the Bee Movie. I can't help but think there's a larger metaphor at play in the film as Barry flies through a funny-shaped kite at the end before the credits. I've never seen the Bee Movie. Maybe we should check it out. Maybe I should check out the Bee Movie this weekend. I do like Seinfeld. I mean, Jerry Seinfeld, his show, is one of the greatest of all time. Seinfeld is great. But never seen that movie. Someone in the chat keeps hitting on me. Tell them to back off, please. No. Apps Aquatics. Thank you for the super chat. You should get Curtis Stone on at Off Grid Stone. All right, Teet. Player Hater 1. Chances of getting Andrew Wilson on the show. I've done collabs with Andrew before. I could probably reach out. We could probably get Andrew on the show. Is there a specific topic? We'll find out. We'll talk with you guys. All right. We're out of time for the day, guys. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. God bless you. We take a 21-hour break. We're going to do a lot of the same tomorrow. We're going to do a lot of the same tomorrow as far as the Epstein files. We will have a guest in the second hour. We're going to bring on some guests just to either, like we're going to introduce you to some people or just let you know, hey, just because you disagree with some people or you might be suspicious of some people, it's time for, people have reached out. They want to come on the show. And so, you know what? I will honor those requests. In my eyes, as one of the more isolated people in the media, if you're willing to talk to me and you're willing to come on the Owen Schroyer show, then you know what? I think there's some value to that, and I think you should know about that too. So we'll do a little bit of that coming up recently. 21-hour break. God bless, Godspeed. We'll see you tomorrow.